Welcome back to Factory Sealed. It is February 2nd, 2020. My name's Eric Peters, and joining me today, Mr. Mike Tyson.
It's with a heavy heart. I have to announce that my opening greeting will be delayed until later on in the show.
Oh, should we delay the introduction of Dan Curtis?
Either or, I don't mind.
All right, let's just wait for about half an hour and see where he's at.
Hey, now fuck off.
But we can confidently delay the introduction of Tom Reagan because he definitely is delayed. Again, like always.
Give him some credit. He's just not turning up at all this week.
Wedding.
That's true. So he's severely delayed.
Yeah, he's committing. He's committing to the delay.
He's really leaning
not
into
some
it.
excuse about going out for cream or anything like that.
Yeah, he's going out. I'm sure there's going to be cream involved in where he's going.
Yeah.
Something to do with Kat's birthday and Wreckfest and all of that.
Please don't listen to this.
I'm breakfast. Sorry, did I say Wreckfest?
I always get those two things mixed up.
It's like Outer Worlds, Outer Wilds, Wreckfest, breakfast, whatever.
What about you having
Wreckfest the one where you're
for
eating your yeah? Is Wreckfest the one where you're eating your cereal, then every 22 minutes it just like comes back again?
Yes.
Yeah, if that was Reese's Puffs, right, that would be the best thing ever.
That'd be Wreckfest for breakfast.
Oh man, Dan, do you want me to bring you some of those back when I go to Vegas?
Yes.
Okay.
God, we're close to
all
that.
All of the boxes, please. If you just take everything out of your suitcase, leave it at Eric's, bring all them back. Thank you.
Yeah, Eric's post me it all back bit by bit.
Mike, we're only 5.5 weeks from that.
Yeah, I know. Crazy, isn't it?
Crazy.
I need to chat to you about what am I going to wear, Eric? I'll let you be in charge.
Preferably very tight clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Got to see that dumper.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a good pickup line?
I've never heard that one before.
You got an ass turd cutter.
I want to see you chop a log off.
Yeah.
And once again, we walk down this dark, dark, dark path of arses and shite.
Arses and shite.
Well, you walk this lonely road. The only road that I have ever known.
I walk down the lonely road of arses and shite.
Shite.
Might
could have been in Green Day.
Might mod that into Beat Saber for the new Green Day pack.
Yeah, Billy Joe's got nothing on me, son. I don't think he's Irish, though, is he? Oddly enough. Nah, no.
Couldn't tell you.
Well, the fact that he's American might give it away.
Is he an idiot?
No, he doesn't want to be one of them.
Oh. Probably a good thing he wrote that album then, huh?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, only a few weeks away, Eric, and then I can drive through some American desert and have fun.
Yeah.
And piss on every cactus I see.
Oh, man.
There's a cactus, piss on it! Ah!
We're going to go through Joshua Tree National Forest. You can piss on a Joshua tree.
Take that, you two!
Won't Joshua mind?
Get it? Get it, Mike?
Maybe. I don't know.
I just heard pissing on Joshua. That's all I heard.
Oh, Joshua Tree. Have you ever seen a Joshua Tree? They look like they belong in Dr. Seuss.
Isn't there one on the front of the U2 album I was talking about?
I don't know. I don't listen to that band.
You listen to me freaking cream yourself over Snow Patrol. Music's not that far apart, is it?
It's leagues apart.
My name's Eric Peterson and I love chasing cars. That's what happened to him.
Oh, poor Snow Patrol, poor Eric.
At least it's not the Beatles.
Actually, no, not poor Snow Patrol.
I'm going to try to send you something without looking up at the screen because that weirds you out.
Okay, for the listeners, Eric has done something strange with his monitor setup, and he seems to have got one like, I don't know, on his ceiling or something. And so every time he looks at it, he looks up, and it's so unnatural and really strange, and I don't like it.
I like it. It's comfortable.
Is
Yeah,
it
but
shite?
It makes me uncomfortable. I'm going to come and sit in that chair completely naked, so my ball sack, like, you know, just is rubbing against it, and then look up and go, nah,
Now, wait.
this don't work.
Can we clarify what version of that you're talking about? Because you said you're going to come and sit in the chair. So...
yeah. If I do it first, that's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Although
No, if there's
post
still
dribbling and all
dribblage.
that jazz, yeah. Then you definitely don't want me sitting there.
A new low.
It depends though,
So we
right?
got-
Because if
so we
I get
got-
in there and there's some of
we've got
that
Mike's-
delicious coffee
Mike's
creamer on the
dribblage.
side.
Mike's dribblage, sweaty ball sack on Eric's chair, looking up at a monitor that may or may not be on the ceiling.
That may or may not have X Hamster on it.
Oh, it definitely does. It's the
Don't
X-Hamster
start
monitor.
this again.
It's all right, Tom's not here.
We've moved on to X videos this week.
Oh, have we? First I've heard.
That seems like a step backwards.
Depends what you want on the day.
That's true.
Yeah, in the hierarchy of porn sites, yeah, X videos isn't as high as X Hamster.
How have we gotten to this?
Uh,
We went from recommending quality retro games to subpar adult sites.
Welcome back to Factory Sealed
Our
Retro
game of the week
Porn
this, our game of the
Podcast.
week this week is X Hamster.
This year, this show, we will be reviewing the January 1992 edition of Playboy.
I didn't like it. The images were too in focus. I need them more stretched. That's my
what the
problem with it.
centerfolds are for.
Yeah.
Now
Oh.
this
Yeah.
is my aspect ratio.
I found a copy sealed, but it seemed to be sealed in the middle, and I'm not sure why.
3 of the pages wouldn't come apart. It went from page 19 to 21. I just couldn't figure it out.
Has Mike been sitting on it by any chance?
Oh dear. How are we, gentlemen, anyway? I wasn't here last time, so... Oh, Eric, actually, before we carry on,
Carry on?
I want to give you a round of applause, sir.
For what? Oh, God.
Right.
Is there
Because
sarcasm
I give
involved?
you... No. This is a legitimate well done. A proper, 2 thumbs up from Tyson, this. Because I give you loads of shit. I give you loads of shit about, like, not editing the show and stuff like that. But on the Game of the Year show where I dropped that huge spoiler on Hellblade and I said you might want to edit that out, that editing work, son. That was spot on.
I did it.
Smooth as butter. Smooth as butter.
Couldn't even tell where
It
you
was pretty
spoiled.
good. I was genuinely surprised that it was there. I fully expected it to still be there.
Yeah. You were all saved from a massive spoiler on Hellblade, thanks to
I wasn't.
Eric Peterson,
I've
actually.
been playing that.
But he spoiled it
Yeah.
for Dan.
Yep.
Thanks, Mike.
It's all right.
Is this
Yeah, well
retribution
done,
because
Eric.
I spoiled the end of Final Fantasy X for Tom?
Yeah.
He might forget it by the time we get around to playing it. But yeah, no, well done, Eric. I was very impressed.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Somebody recognizes all the work that goes into this.
193 episodes or something. It's the first edit he's done.
Listen,
So-
listen. Don't want to put in too much effort. Then it becomes a job.
There was that time he did the Doppler effect on Tom's voice.
That was effort.
There was the time when you isolated the noise of Tom's alarm and put that in after the music at the end.
And the time he did it with the squeaky chair as well.
See? My efforts are subtle, but they're impactful.
That was one of our weirdest cold endings ever, which was just the squeaking of Tom's chair. Because if you weren't listening to it on a decent sound system, it sounded like we just left a gap of silence. Which
I
would
love
appreciate
Tom's squeaky chair. I have such fond memories of that episode. So funny. And the alarm, just the rage on Reagan's face every time it went off.
He's trying to have a serious conversation. What game was that about?
Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, he probably planned that.
Oh, his face was already looking like that, so I don't know what the alarm had to do with it. That boy hates him some Kingdom Hearts, Jesus.
It does, yeah.
Never known someone have such disdain for a Disney product.
Must not have had a very good childhood then.
Too busy on X Hamster.
Was that even around in dial-up days?
You better hope you like that link you clicked on, because you just spent 2 hours loading it. Well, I guess this is it for today.
Trying to download it off LimeWire was always fun. Is it porn? Is it a virus? Who knows?
Is it a porn virus? Probably.
Giving you computer aids just so you could listen to an MP3.
Yeah, that was back before the days of secondary hard drives. It's like, let's just fuck this one up.
Is it Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory album? No, it's a virus.
I didn't know they released one called hybridtheory.exe. Let's click on it.
I'm not going to lie, lads. I missed the risk. It's just too easy now.
I don't, because I've purchased this computer.
It's too easy with Spotify now. There's no danger involved.
Oh, God. So I actually lost a really good friend in middle school because of LimeWire.
Syphilis?
Or syphilis is
that was some virus if it killed him off. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, let me...
All he wanted to do was listen to Crawl In, and he collapsed over keyboard.
let me preface this. He lived.
Something's crawling in his skin for sure now.
So I went
One
over
step closer to the edge, and he's about to faint.
Keep going. Let's see how far you can take this. So I went over to his house.
But in the end, did it really matter?
Nope. It did, because we couldn't be friends anymore after that. So
why did he get a paper cut?
Went over to his house, and we were downloading some music. And
did his parents give him some points of authority? Did he ever find a cure for that itch? If you don't know Linkin Park's first album, by the way, these jokes are completely lost on you.
Yep, I'm lost. I'm just laughing to be polite.
Oh, okay.
Proper British there. No, so anyway, we were downloading a bunch of music, and thought everything was fine. Went to come back over the next weekend, and he's like, no, my parents said you're not allowed to come over anymore. Like, why? Come to find out that after I had left, he downloaded a bunch of porn and then blamed it on me. And his parents like, you're not allowed to hang out with him anymore. Like, oh, thanks, asshole.
Great.
So he's dead to me.
Oh. You could say he was forgotten.
Stop.
Wait, is that off that album? Shit, I may have fucked up. Eric, edit it out.
No.
He's had his edit quarter for the next decade. Leave him alone.
Oh no, Forgotten is on that album. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's okay.
So, yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks. I'm actually going to be flying back to Wisconsin next week to attend a funeral. My grandfather passed away this past week, so I get to go play in the snow.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, dude. Not playing in the snow.
Nah, that's all right. It's, it was his time. 'Twas his time.
He sounds like a tough old dude. I read some of his obituary with all the surgeries and stuff he had. Jesus Christ.
He's actually one of the first people in medical history to have received an aortic transplant with a pig valve.
Wow.
At 19.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling us this before. Because that's a similar thing my mum had done a year or so ago. Yeah,
and that's back when they were doing open heart surgeries through the side of the chest, and they'd cut you here and then rip things open. You're like, yep, there's the heart, instead of cracking you in the front now.
Nice.
Yeah. But
sounds very delightful.
Very.
You ain't had a surgery for a while yet, Eric.
I think I'm due. Typically every 2 years. So
Are we coming up on the Snipmas anniversary soon?
yeah. Valentine's Day.
Thought it was.
That was Valentine's Day. So
Go celebrate it. Go see So Nice the Hedge Pig.
we're actually going to. Ellie and I are going to go on a daddy-daughter date and go see So Nice. She's already got it marked on her calendar. We bought them calendars above their bed, and she immediately went to Valentine's Day. And she's like, Sonic!
Oh, good for her.
She's pretty
I'm
excited.
probably going. I want to go see it anyway, but I'll take Hazel. We don't celebrate Valentine's Day, so it won't be a romantic gesture.
I don't either. I'm not a big fan.
Neither
of that.
do I.
Although, what I might do, just to be ironic, is like really push going to see Sonic as like a big romantic gesture.
Speaking of video game movies, the Mega Man movie has a screenwriter now.
Who?
Man Mega?
Never heard of him.
Yeah. Batman co-writer Matson Tomlin? Don't know the name, but anyway, yeah.
Yeah, but this is the Batman film that's not out yet, so it could be shit.
Could be. Very well could be.
You've got Sparkly Vampire Man as Batman.
Can it really be any worse than Affleck?
You know what? I didn't think Affleck did a bad job.
I think the films he was in were bad.
Yeah. Well, actually, I quite enjoyed Batman vs Superman, but
oh shit!
I never saw
Justice League.
Superhero form. That's what that film was.
I never saw Justice League, but I was very much a Batfleck denier when he was first announced. I was like, this is going to be shite. But no, I thought he was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Him and Jeremy Irons like together was good. Is it Jeremy Irons?
Finally
Welcome
got around
to the Factory Sealed film podcast.
Finally got around to seeing Joker.
I forgot Jeremy Irons was in that.
They played Alfred.
Not Mike.
He was in Watchmen recently as well with Jezza Irons.
Speaking of you seeing Joker, Eric, I hate you so much. So Eric sent us a message saying, "Oh, I've just seen Joker," and we were like, "Oh, what do you think of it?" He goes, "It was rubbish." And I was about to be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And he left it at like 30 seconds, then went, "Not one single joke in it." I was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" I hate you so much.
This is what it's like trying to talk to Eric.
You don't know if it's going to be
like
serious.
Being friends with Eric.
Like the time he told us he was getting a friggin' tattoo which had groundations in it in Latin.
Oh, Tom and I for probably an hour planned that out, and I made it Photoshop, and we looked for fonts, and I edited this and put it inside Illustrator, and I was actually going to order a fake tattoo of it and have it put on to show you. With this, and I was trying to
be polite about it because I am definitely of the opinion if you want to get a certain tattoo and it means something to you, get it done no matter what other people think. And I was like trying to politely go, well, I wouldn't get it, but if you want it, want it. And then the next day when you said you were joking, I just went, oh, thank fuck for that.
Whereas I went down the other route of just saying, no, I don't like it. It looks like something a chav would have over here. And then you acted all weird and as if I'd offended you. And I actually told my other half that evening, I think I've offended Eric. And I was like, look at this tattoo that he's considering getting.
And did she say, what the hell are you talking about? I don't exist.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, Tom and I wrote up this big. I'm trying to find the message again, but I wrote up this big explanation about why it meant so much to me, and really leaned into it, hoping you'd bite. And Dan clearly didn't bite, but it was hideous. It was your traditional.
I did bite in the end because I thought I genuinely offended you. I really did.
Oh yeah, because
and then the next day I wanted to freaking kill you.
I took some Harry Potter quote. No, not Harry Potter. J.K. Rowling quote, and where she used the word foundation and just swapped it out to groundation and then converted it to Latin. I gotta find
that's where it got. That's where it got me because I was like, why would he be getting a J.K. Rowling quote?
Hey, it might be a secret Harry Potter fan.
Here's the quote. It said, "And so rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life, but I changed it to groundation and then just converted it to Latin." So fucking idiots.
Hey, you can print these out on your new vinyl sticker thing.
I could, yes. Thank you for reminding me. I now have a means to print and cut high quality outdoor vinyl. And I actually just mailed off the first sample pieces to Stephanie. So she's going to play around with them and see where she can put them and how long they last and if they're worth anything.
She beta testing it for you?
Well, it's more like alpha testing. But yes.
Okay.
No, they should be fine. I printed some out. I had to make some adjustments to the logo because our retro gaming font is really tiny. So I fattened it up a little bit. Are you going to cut your hair, Mike?
No.
Oh, you
I
got
have you not noticed whenever we're streaming, I play with shit that's on the side, and this is just today's thing. It's here, so I play with it.
I see.
It's doing stuff with my hands all the time, and I was adjusting my headphones.
I see.
Or fidget. What can I say?
Keep your hands where you can see them, son. We don't want no jacking it during this show.
Nah.
Is that better? Is that better? Eric, stop that. Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's all right.
Yeah, well, you know, do you remember the last run of T-shirts we did? We had a listener who made those logo stickers. Who was it? Who did those for us?
Was it Chad Schaefer?
Could have been. I'm really, really sorry that I can't remember who it was who sent us them. But my car died a death recently, and I just got a new car, and I finally put a sticker on the back. So driving around advertising the podcast.
Let me see. I'm going to feel really bad if it's not. Yeah, it's Chad
I feel
Schaefer.
really bad that I can't remember. Yeah. Thank you, Chad. That's now.
He's actually going to hook me up with some cheap vinyl. So I'll print those out, and maybe we'll have some new actual stickers you can put on your car. Because what's neat about these the ones that he printed off, like they're stickers, but it's a big square sticker with the stuff printed on it. This one is like actual vinyl with transfer paper, and it's like the true vinyl window stickers.
Hey, that's cool.
Can we have a sticker of each of us doing the Lord Thumb pose? the McDonald's face.
Oh God, I found the original McDonald's picture recently. That's a glorious photo.
It's a classic.
Yep.
It is a classic.
So what's been in the news recently? Anything worth noting? Or
Brexit.
Don't talk to me about that shit. Well, Daniel splurged his pants. Was it yesterday, the day before?
A little bit.
Oh, my underpant elastic was fired across the room, I can tell you that much.
Why?
Say why, Daniel?
No.
Did you get the hard light working on your hologram of Crystal?
I was on X-Hamster again.
Yeah. Have we mentioned that Crystal's no longer coming to Tom's wedding on the podcast?
Yeah, why?
Because just saying that, you know, it's awfully convenient that the point where we were all going to meet her is now not happening.
You've met her, right, Mike, or briefly?
It was inside Dan's house, though, so smoke and mirrors, I don't know, visual effects.
And how long was it for?
It was one evening.
Oh. I thought it was just a passing, like she just was walking out as you came in. It's like, don't want to be here.
No, he spoke to her and everything.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, but as I said...
Does she have a real thick Geordie accent?
It's thicker than Dan's, I would say, but it's not. Well, it's not massively. I was about to do a Geordie impression, but I
don't think anybody can.
No, better not. Just embarrass myself.
Eric's good at them.
Sound like Indians.
No, yeah. So I only met her that one time, and I never physically tried to put my hand on her and to see if my hand just goes completely through her. So she was a hologram. So I don't know.
Het could be either really far behind the times or really far ahead of the times.
Yeah, I didn't see her in the morning, might I add, when I stayed at Dan's. Just saw her in the evening.
She was charging.
Exactly. Just a big charging station in his bedroom.
In the closet. She comes in and just closes the doors.
How elaborate do you think Het is?
Oh, you youngins.
We're gentrifying, slowly but surely.
Takes a while.
Holograms of the future.
Need a lot of annual community bonfires to gentrify that place.
Yeah. I haven't found a way to ship my new setup to Tom's wedding yet. That's why she can't come.
Oh, I see.
How convenient.
Did I ever send you guys?
I had the moves pre-programmed and everything for the dance floor, but no, it's not happening.
So, Dan, you're going to spend the night down there, right? So you can actually dance with us?
Oh yeah, man! I'm down for. I'm coming down for the 2 days, I think.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're Airbnb-ing.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
me, Hazel, you, Christy, and Dan.
Ooh, I'm going to bring some pot pies.
Please don't.
I thought you were about to say I'm going to bring some pot.
Pot pies. No, I'm not going to travel with that over there.
This night is going differently than I thought.
Based on what you guys are doing over there, that shit's going to get you in jail forever.
dear. I vote that Dan can like nestle like a cat on the end of yours and Christie's bed rather than mine and Hazel's.
I prefer yours, Mike, to be honest.
There's more hair on yours. It'll be warmer.
This is true. This is
I'll
true.
let you stroke me.
Okay. Thanks.
Is there an option to pass?
Speaking of stroking your parts of your body, why was you splurging?
Oh, yeah. Remember when we talk about video games occasionally?
Yeah. All comes full circle.
Who knew? Well, Squeenix stealth dropped a new trailer for Final Fantasy VII. And oh my god. I've watched the trailer 5 times already.
Have you really?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
What game?
Eric, how was the Japanese trailer?
Man, honestly, I can't. This is like my most hyped and excited I've ever been for a game, I would say ever. I literally can't wait. It's
Well, you're going to have
amazing.
to because shit just keeps getting pushed.
Yeah, I know. But how good does that trailer look?
Would have been better if it were in English.
Don't start this again. If you don't get that reference, last time there was a trailer, Eric was kicking off because they kept saying Aerith, and it was in Japanese.
No, it was
sorry.
Eris, because it was in the Japanese one,
Yeah.
whereas ours is actually Aerith. There was an ongoing
He was
debate about
watching
what
the
they actually
Japanese
said.
version, not realizing that there was an English version.
Well, I went with the one that Chad Hager posted. I just clicked on that
You
link.
would look at it and go, "Oh, there's a Japanese version. Surely, given that this game will be huge in the West, they would also do an English version." But
Also, just to link this
no!
to something that happened recently, Eric was looking at some gig tickets recently and randomly went on a resale website before an official seller and was like, "God, these are expensive." And then I found the proper link and went, "No, Eric, they're literally like less
It's
than half
for
the price
a
of
band
that."
nobody's heard of. I went tickets and clicked the first link.
The Google ad.
Yeah.
Do you even internet?
Nope. I don't.
but like with that trailer though, have you like there was so much to digest from that trailer. There is so much in it.
I am amazed at how much of the story they're clearly bringing forward into the Midgar section.
Well, they have to front load a ton of it.
Well, yeah. But like, there's
But to be fair,
because we've been
they're
told the
probably
entire
gonna
thing's in Midgar, haven't we? Is that a fact? All of it is in Midgar.
Yes.
That's
For
what
this
they've been
first
saying,
thing.
but
Yeah.
who knows?
Watch
In
that
it-
be a little bit of a red herring, and this is the whole game.
Nah.
I would like lose my mind.
But the things that I was on about story beats being brought forward, there's a bit where they confront Sephiroth, which obviously they don't
Who?
really do in Midgar properly. Sephiroth?
Okay. Thought I heard you say something else.
No. I'm not Dan who says Sephiroth.
Sephiroth.
And yeah, so that's been brought forward. There's a fight with Genova, which doesn't happen until the ship between the two continents in the original game. And that looks like it's in Midgar in the new trailer. Yeah. So it's interesting how much of the story they're bringing forward. But there was so much as well, like that just we haven't seen yet as well. So there was we saw Scarlet, we saw Palmer, who we haven't seen yet. Have we seen Reeve before? We saw Reeve on this one. Is it Heidegger? I'm never sure how to pronounce it. Heidegger. Yeah, he was in it. He's not a big rotund man anymore.
No, he's big and burly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just bits of like Hojo watching Cloud already.
But there's a new
like that,
there's a new nemesis too. The dude with the
stars,
crazy hair riding around on the motorcycle.
That's a new character called Roche, apparently. He is a soldier 3rd class.
Amateur.
I know, right? Not like Cloud, he's first class.
I really like how they started showing off the honeybee scene with the cross-dressing.
That was it's really well done.
Yeah.
I like it.
Like, everybody thought that they might back away from that, but they're going head on with it. Like, good for them.
Well, and they really bring in the whole the change in appropriate gender and all of that. I can't remember the guy's name. He's like, "Where gender doesn't matter here." He makes some comment about that.
Yeah, it's good. Like I'm hoping because it's very easy to fuck these things up when you try and bring these things forward, and you might not understand the subject matter of itself. But yeah, so I'm hoping that they do nail it in a tasteful way.
It seems like they have, because what they did in the 90s, if it were released today, would not fly.
No, fuck no.
Not at all.
It was pure
But
gay panic.
there's so many things which harken back to the original as well, like the Shinra stairs they're shown.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then we see Red 13 for the first time, and he looks absolutely brilliant. There's different boss battles like the heli gunner which you fight on the elevator in Shinra Tower, and things like that. And it looks like I saw like a breakdown trailer where the fight with Genova, apparently, if you look really closely, you can see a carpet on the floor, which looks like President Shinra's office. So it's kind of in the original, the bit where Sephiroth kills Sephiroth. Sorry,
There he did it.
that's how it's spelled.
But it's PH,
Yeah, I know.
which makes the
I was a child. It stuck with. Leave me alone.
Like Philip. Cephilipoth.
Ah, you mean Pihilip. Anyway, that is the bit where he kills President Shinra in the original.
Yes.
So it could be a preface to that, and he's messing with things and making it go all crazy and stuff. But we'll find out.
Well, spoilers for a God knows how many years old game. That's not Sephiroth at that point anyway. It's Genova, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. You're chasing Genova the entire time. So
It'll be interesting to see, because they are literally showing Sephiroth at this point. If that is him or if it is Genova.
Well, no, because it's a massive, massive plot point that he's up in the crater, isn't it? Like actual Sephiroth.
Yeah. They are changing things. So there's the whole thing with the weird black smoke, which hasn't been explained.
The Dementors.
Yes.
See, he does like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Let's get that quote, mate. Groundations. Bit of barbed wire for added effect, lovely.
Grundatus.
So I've seen people speculating about where this one was going to end, and a lot of people were speculating that it would probably end with the I can't remember which sector number it is, but whichever sector, the Midgar plate falling. Is it sector
7?
5 that falls?
7.
Sector. Oh, it's sector 7. Yeah, because it squashes Tiv as well, wasn't it? Yeah, the sector 7 crash, but obviously that's not now because they go to the Shinra building.
Yeah, there's
Because
no
I've
way
always thought that it would end just before they go on the world map.
That's got to be where it's going to end. I think that the motorcycle chase scene is going to be right at the end. That's probably going to be the climax.
Oh, they showed that, and they've still got the little car.
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
Yeah, it's like a blink and you'll miss a section of it. But it's definitely in there. And they showed off Choco Mog summon and Leviathan summon, which is much later in the game originally.
You don't get that until, was it Watai, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, Wutai. Yeah.
I will say the voice acting is impeccable, but I cannot stand Barrett.
Loads of people online have been complaining about the voice acting. I think it's spot on.
The Cloud sounds great. Tifa, Aerith sounds great. But Barrett is...
Red 13's voice is perfect. That's always how I've kind of imagined his voice.
What are you going to do if they come out and they actually announce that it's Red XIII and not 13?
Well, then they would be stupid because, one, that takes too long to say, and two, he's like the 13th test subject.
Yeah.
That's what I used to say when I was a kid as well.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Sephiroth versus Red XIII.
But Pahilip. That's what I used to name Cloud.
But no, I can't. I understand they're trying to. I understand they're trying to recapture the original character of Barrett, but I think they leaned too heavily into it, and he has crossed over into just pure racial stereotype.
But yeah,
it's
I know,
really
that's what
off-putting.
he was originally, so I think it fits. But I don't know.
Well, I don't
It's
know.
weird.
I'm part of me is hoping that, because you are right, it does seem a little bit of a racial stereotype, but I'm hoping that maybe it stops being that, because like obviously Barrett's character arc, he starts off all brash and butch and everything, and then like obviously once you see him with Marlene, you see his softer side, and then when you get to the bit where you find about his past with Dine and Coral being destroyed and everything like that, and he puts down his barriers a little bit. maybe the character will progress so that he stops kind of being, well, he starts being less of a stereotype, and then you actually see how he is. Wishful thinking.
I don't know. There was a big
hopefully.
scene where he charges up his gun and goes, "Suck on this!" Like, really?
I'd say that if I had a big gun.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's look at it in context, because we've only seen him speaking very short lines in loads of trailers over the years so far. So we haven't seen really a full scene with his voice acting.
I'll reserve judgment, but my expectations are not high.
Yeah, so I imagine if this is only in Midgar, they'll probably only keep Cloud, Tifa, Aerith Barrett, and Red 13 as the characters, and we'll have to wait until further on to get others.
I'll tell you what will be interesting, because obviously Vincent and Yuffie are optional characters. Now, Vincent, obviously, first time you get to Nibelheim, that's where you can get him, but Yuffie, the first time you can get her is near North Condor. And after you've passed that point, you can actually find her in any forest whatsoever. It'll be interesting where they drop her in, because she won't be optional this time.
Yeah, those two 100% won't be optional anymore. They've expanded the lore too much.
Exactly. So it'd be interesting to see where they put her in, whether it'll be around. I said North Condor, I meant Fort Condor. If be around there, so you get her before Junon, or whether they wait.
It'd be interesting to see if they actually do a world map.
Not for this.
Not for this one, obviously, but future.
I think it'll be like what you saw with Grand Pulse from 13. It won't.
That might be enough of that.
It won't be top down, but it'll definitely be large open space.
I don't really want it to be top
something
down,
like Final Fantasy 15 would work, surely.
Yeah. Oh god, that would be so good. And then once you get the high wind,
just like Final Fantasy 15, but on, in a way, a bigger scale, because in some ways Final Fantasy 15 is just kind of one cornered off area, isn't it? It's not really, well, where I've got up to, it's not really sort of an entire world.
No, it's a country.
So if they could recreate something like that, it just depends if they can scale it like that.
What'll be interesting is if this does turn into a 3 or 4 part series, when you get to part 4, if you can still travel back to the original cities and stuff from the earlier discs. Or if they're going to completely segment it
and
off.
how leveling up's going to cross over as well. I mean, I know you guys did .hack recently, and that had a feature all the way back then of transferring your characters and your levels and everything across. But if you can level up and level up and level up in this first section, and then get yourself up to level 100 already before this next one comes out, and then you just start that one at level 100, and I don't know, like, is that going to work? Are they going to put a level cap on it? Because last time they put a level cap in a Final Fantasy, from my memory, was Final Fantasy 13, and that sucked.
Yep.
Well, it didn't suck. It was just different.
No, it did suck, because it was like, you know that if you got to that level cap, during each section, before the cap raised again, you know you're generally going to be all right.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the level cap. Sorry, I thought you meant just the game in general.
Oh, no, not the game in general. I need to replay that to kind of get my thoughts on that, because I got to Grand Pulse the first time I played it, and then stopped
That's
there.
exactly where I stopped.
Why? That is the best bit.
That's where I stopped.
But why?
The level caps throughout the actual sections is what I'm talking about.
I completely forgot about that.
It was stupid. I thought it was just real stupid. I don't understand why they did it. But yeah, they can't. I don't want them to implement anything like that, but it's going to take a lot of strategy to kind of make that work, because you know there are going to be people who will get up to the maximum level before the next game comes out, and then they're going to be the ones who go, "Oh, it sucks. It's too easy."
That'll be damn.
Now there'll have to be something in place to make things scale.
Yeah, but what's going to suck is if you get to the second game and you've lost everything. You're back to level 1, no materia, no armor.
No, I think it'll carry over.
And did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
No, I'm still here.
Where's
you all
he
right?
gone?
Can you hear us? Oh, we've lost him.
He's looking up to the sky.
It's Eric's shitty internet. That's the problem.
Oh, God. Honestly, I wish he'd upgrade already.
Oh, the bloody Phoenix net.
He's hit his data cap again, Mike. Too much streaming on Stadia, I reckon.
Too much X-Hamster. That's his problem.
You guys completely froze for about 40 seconds there.
Yeah, it was your crappy internet, Eric.
Nah. I'll have to,
Phoenix Net. Jesus
I'll have
Christ,
to
it's
edit
terrible.
that out. Don't know
Puts the head in it to shame.
Oh, Daniel. Speaking of
Hello.
Stadia.
Oh, God,
Speaking
here
of
he
Stadia.
goes, Eric.
Oh,
Here he
Jesus.
goes.
Should I start talking about Mega Man instead?
Oh, go on. Oh, actually, you were going to talk about that film, weren't you?
No. I was just going to say it got a writer.
Oh, okay. Speaking of Stadia, I although this would play up to Dan's joke, I did almost get Stadia, but couldn't.
Haven't they gone on to say absolutely fuck all about anything coming up recently?
Yeah, it's been
Pretty much.
so people started to get really annoyed about this. I think there's a whole like huge Reddit thing about it. Basically, since Stadia came out, Google have been basically radio silent, and they've released a couple of really old games which we've went through in the past, like Rise of the Tomb Raider. But other than that, there's no sign of all of the 100 games they've promised are coming to Stadia in the next year. There's no like cross-play on different devices.
The current version of Borderlands is like an old version. It's like it's not updated to the most recent update. I think it's updated until like October 20 something currently. Whereas like there was an
Speaking of
update in
somebody who's
December.
just played through Borderlands 3, that game is pretty janky even with the latest update. So
If you Google upcoming Stadia games, you get 3 results. Doom Eternal, Cyberpunk 2077, and Marvel's Avengers.
And they all just say
That's
2020. But we haven't been hooked up to a landline here yet, internet wise. I'm still using like a 4G hub to record the show, and but I'm due to like redo my contract for my broadband, and BT have got an offer on at the moment where they Eric's completely frozen, where if you sign up to a certain. If you sign up to a certain package, they'd give you Stadia Pro for 3 months, a Chromecast Ultra, and the Stadia controller. And I was like, well, it's going to be the exact same price than what I'm already paying, and I'm going to get faster broadband, and I'm going to get a Chromecast Ultra out of it. I didn't care about Stadia controller or Stadia. I'm going to get a Chromecast Ultra for free. And I was going to do it, but because I can't sign up for the offer until I'm actually got a landline set up in the house, so I couldn't get Stadia down. I couldn't back up your joke.
God,
yeah, because you've already got it. Why do you need it again? It's all you play, man. That PS4 and Switch, dead to you. Dead to you.
More like PS Who, am I right?
They should call the PS5 that. Oh, did you guys see also that Nintendo said the other day, they basically came out and said, nope, we have no plans for a Switch Pro in 2020.
I did see that.
Yep.
They don't need to.
So-
Everything's just
Makes
That's
sense to me.
interesting because
What-
everybody's been going, oh, Nintendo's going to release a new Switch in 2020. No.
I mean, technically they are. They're doing the Animal Crossing one.
Oh, how beautiful is that thing?
Yeah. Oh, Eric, I didn't realize this, but
What?
you know the special editions that have like the controllers, because you said you really like the controller colors.
Yeah.
Supposedly they do sell them separately in Japan, and you can do them for Play. There's 2 ways to do it through Play Asia, but apparently they put a bit of a markup on it.
Mike,
What?
Yes, Dan.
you're talking to the man who doesn't buy Joy-Cons.
Oh yeah, this is true. Or apparently you can like set up a Japanese Amazon account and link it to your normal account, and you can then just get them through there, and it's a bit cheaper. I don't know how true this is, but
He's Googling.
he is. He's not looking up at his ceiling monitor.
$75.
I just
Standalone
like to
Animal
think
Crossing.
that chair he's sitting in, Mike, just tips all the way back and it's like actually on his ceiling. So he's just lying down horizontally, looking up at the ceiling in his monitor.
Like, look at these. These things are gorgeous.
Yeah, they are nice. They're very nice.
Unfortunately,
Yeah,
the
no,
Japanese website clearly states that the items are available as only domestic delivery.
Surely if you order through Play Asia, you can get them.
I
I'll say they'll put a bit of a markup on them.
Oh, that dock is so sexy too.
Yeah,
Find a
it's
friend in
nice,
Japan.
isn't it?
Easy.
It's pleasing to look at.
Yeah.
Really pleasing.
Although
to
my
look
dock
at.
sits in my AV rack and I see the side of it.
Oh,
So
well,
pointless.
might be a bit pointless for you then. But yeah, I know it makes sense to do no Switch Pro this year. Like, you don't want it up against the new Xbox and new PlayStation.
They didn't say they're not doing one. They just said this year.
Well,
Yeah, that's what I mean. But it makes sense. It just makes sense to me. Although, didn't they say that last year they had no plans for a different kind of Switch, and they released both the Switch Lite and a newer version of the Switch that had better chipset that made the battery better?
But technically that doesn't count as a iteration difference because it didn't really.
Well, that doesn't, but the Switch Lite does.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm sure they said earlier last year.
The
there's
whole point
no
of the
plans for
Switch, which is switching how you play.
On the other end of the
it. Yeah,
spectrum,
you can still switch it on down.
and off. You have two things
Well,
you can
it's thought
switch.
of everything.
On the other end of the
I'm
spectrum,
telling you,
though,
they still should have called it Light Switch. Why didn't they do it? It makes perfect sense.
it does.
Yeah.
On the other end of the spectrum, Microsoft came out and said, "Hey, you know that new console we're doing? There's not going to be any exclusives for the first 2 years."
Well, there are exclusives, but not exclusive to that console.
So
Like, there's Xbox exclusives coming,
yes,
but for the first couple of years, they're going to be playable on the Xbox One as well.
By Xbox exclusives, do you mean Halo, and that's it?
There's going to be the
so
second.
you know
Hellblade
every
on
time
there.
when
Obsidian is probably going to be Xbox exclusive now they've been bought by them.
you know the gap between the PS3 and the PS4 when they would release a game for the PS3 and also had the PS4 version, neither of them was ideal. The PS3 was always had content cut, but the PS4 version was always stunted to be able to still continue to run on the PS3. So it's just going to be that.
I don't
but
think
the
so, though.
completely
'Cause
different
I
cell
think,
architecture now.
Eh.
So
yeah, and I don't think so because if you think about when you buy an Xbox One game now and put it in your One X, or you buy a PS4 game and put it in your PS4 Pro, you download a patch.
Yeah, you could do that.
I can't see why. Like now, if you release, I mean, Halo Infinite is coming to both anyway. That's been confirmed. But you get Halo. If in the shop there's just a game for Xbox, and you can put that in either console, and then once you put it into the Series X, it gives you a patch, makes it much better. I can't see that being a problem personally.
this is the question though, is when these new consoles come out. So there's quite a few big game releases coming out this year, which have been announced for PS4, for example. And when the PS5 comes out, will they be re-released for PS5, and you have to buy them to play them on the PS5? Or if the PS5 is backward compatible with PS4 games, can you just use that old disc? Then you get a patch to upgrade it to the PS5 version.
I doubt that.
See, they have said it's backwards compatible, haven't they?
Yeah, but just because
Yeah,
it's backwards compatible doesn't mean it's going to be forwards compatible, where you're going to automatically get the PS5 version just because you own the PS4 version.
But
that is
there's
true.
no reason why that couldn't be the case now with patches.
It wasn't the case with the PS3 and the PS4, and they had that same functionality then.
Yeah, but the PS3's architecture is completely
But
different.
it's
to
the same
PS4's.
concept, though. Just because I owned The Last of Us on PS3 didn't automatically entitle me to the PS4 version of it.
Yes, but the PS4 can't play PS3. That's the difference here. The PS5 is going to be able to play PS4 games.
That's true. I guess it's...
That's the difference
So
maker
it's a
here.
bit of a grey area, and
TBD.
I think it's rumored that Sony are gearing up to release information about the PS5 sometime in Feb. I can't remember when.
Well, God, they gotta be soon because that's, 6-7 months off?
Well, we don't know yet, but I
Well.
assume November time.
Okay, so about 10 months.
My big question is, because if it's backwards compatible, great. Like, I'm happy with that. My question is going to be, is my digital library going to cross over?
It
My
better.
PS Plus games.
It had
and
better.
that. Because if my digital library is going to cross over as well, PS5 will probably be a day one purchase for me. If it doesn't, I'll be waiting because I've got a huge list of PS4 games still to play.
Oh man, they put out some real good games on PS Plus this month as well. It's a real good month. So you got BioShock Collection, Sims 4, and Firewall 0 Hour.
I was telling you guys, I hope that actually bolsters the online community for Firewall because that place is a barren landscape.
Yeah, but part of it is because it's not very fun to play with a controller.
Yeah, you got to have the aim controller.
Because
if
you play with the controller, because I joined in on one of their free weekends that they did, and obviously I haven't got the aim controller, and you literally have to you hold the controller and you're aiming with the light bar.
Yeah, it's not very intuitive.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, it's not great at all. But yeah, I don't know. I could see it going one of three ways with the PS4 Pro and the backward compatibility. The conversation we're having is be backwards compatible. So one would be backwards compatible. You put your PS4 game in, you only kind of get PS4 style, frame rate and everything like that. The second version is maybe you do get a patch and you get better frame rate, better graphics, etc. Or the other way could be maybe if you have the PS4 version, put it in, maybe they could charge you for a patch to make it the PS5 version.
$59.99.
But I suppose a lot of this, I suppose, hinders on whether the games are going to be more expensive.
I was just going to say, what do you think the odds are everything's going to go up $10? We haven't had a price jump in games since PS3 era.
I'm not sure. See, like this changes the conversation slightly because if the games are going to be the same price, what's standard game in America these days? $60?
Yeah, 59.
Yeah. So if they stay at $60 for PS5 games, then why not just give a free patch if you've got the PS4 version?
Yeah, but games are becoming more complex and more expensive to make.
And with that becomes more ways for them to monetize, which they're trying all the time.
But the market's also incredibly saturated too, so they're inherently selling fewer copies because there's more games out there and people have less disposable income.
But this brings me back to the Xbox conversation, because the whole thing about it working across both consoles and things like that, I personally believe, and I'm not the only person to have said this, and some of these words are kind of borrowed a little bit from various places, but I think that Xbox are moving away from being like a console and being more of a platform. I mean, they've got xCloud coming, they make money hand over fist with Game Pass, things like that. Now, if xCloud is going to run in 4K, and an Xbox One can run Game Pass, it's just streaming, isn't it? It's fucking xCloud, not Game Pass. If it's just streaming through xCloud rather than using your actual base console to do the power, like, it's still going to be the same experience you're going to have with the Series X, surely.
Yeah, but hasn't Stadia basically proven that streaming is not the way forward at this time?
True, but from all accounts from the sort of news sources that I listen to, xCloud seems to work a hell of a lot better than Stadia.
We'll see when it's out in the wild. That's the big test.
Yeah, until it works like I am sitting there playing a console that is physically in my living room, I don't want to touch it.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm the same. I mean, I was the one who was like quite excited about the idea of Stadia and stuff like that, and when it was first announced. Yeah, no, but on a serious note, jokes aside, I was the one who went like, if this works, it's going to be amazing. You guys, and you were correct. You called it. It was going to be shit. But
well done, Eric. Virtual
right.
high five
for once.
Yeah, but if Xbox can get this right, if they're a platform, I mean, you've already seen that they've already started putting some of their games on other consoles. If like Ori has gone to Switch, Cuphead has gone to Switch, fucking idiots. And the Game Pass, they've now got it on PC. xCloud, you're going to be able to use your entire game library and Game Pass on there. Like, I don't think they're worried about physical console sales this next generation. I mean, sure, if they sell a load of Series X's, great, but I don't think they're concerned about it.
Now, here's the thing. Apparently, this week also Sony put out a survey saying, would you like to see PS games on Switch?
Did it actually say specifically that?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
See if I can find the article.
Because I do remember them talking about
amongst yourselves.
Being able to play games on different platforms. But,
interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, because if Xbox can create themselves as a platform rather than necessarily a console, that's going to save money for them because they're not, because they generally lose money on the actual hardware, don't they?
Yes.
With the consoles.
Look how much money they make on the accessories, though. Controllers cost them dollars to make, and they charge just as much as a game.
Yeah, people are still going to need controllers.
Yeah.
It's...
Yeah, in the survey, it said ability to play PS4 remote play on more devices, e.g. able to play on Nintendo Switch, Apple TV, or Android TV.
Ooh.
So they're on about PS Now then, by the sounds of it. But apparently PS Now, I mean, I don't personally know anyone who really uses PS Now. I know my friends Tom and Kirsty used it for a little bit, and I think Kirsty played through the entirety of The Last of Us remastered on PS Now, streaming it. But that makes them a whole lot more money. I think it's actually more successful than Game Pass if you look at the actual stats.
Which is crazy because you never hear about it.
Yeah,
I should probably. How much is it a month? $10?
Yeah, I tried it recently. I did the free trial. It was all right.
Yeah, but did you do the ones where you could actually download it or just stream it?
I tried streaming it. It's a bit janky. That's probably my internet.
I was going to say, you're not the best test subject.
I am the best test subject because it should work on all internet. Otherwise, it's rubbish.
I know Zach did the xCloud beta, didn't he? Or is currently doing it. I think he had some good results.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so. Huh. I could be putting words into his mouth. Zach, let me know.
I signed up to do the Microsoft Flight Simulator beta testing, and I'm waiting to hear back about that. They were going to do the first run earlier this week, and then the second run, I believe, later next week. I want to play that game real bad.
No, not for me.
Not for me at all.
Not for me. I was it when we did Ace Combat that time. Like, yeah, it was all right, but
yeah, but this one is
utilizing.
That
was like a battle game, not an actual like just me simulating me flying a plane.
Yeah, but it's streaming information from, I believe it's Bing Maps, but essentially from satellite imagery to be able to fly anywhere in the world.
Bing Maps. I bet you can't even find Bing Maps headquarters on Bing Maps.
Bing Maps.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even know.
Mike's not interested, right? Because he can just put the lorry in airplane mode and then he can use it as an airplane. So
I didn't even know there was a Bing Maps.
Oh, there is. I'm on it right now. I don't like the color they chose for the ocean.
It's like, right. In
the color they chose for the ocean.
I think it was the first Amazing Spider-Man. The ones with Andrew Garfield in. So I think it's on the first one where he uses Bing for his searches because obviously like fucking Sony and everything. And like whenever it was early on in mine and Hazel's relationship, whenever I mentioned Amazing Spider-Man, first thing, yeah, but he uses fucking Bing to search. Who uses Bing? That was like her main complaint with the film.
I always remember on the first series of Arrow, they had loads of them using Windows products all the time. It was when Windows 10 first came out with all the tiles and stuff. I always remember interacting with the Windows things, and I was just like, this is just so shoehorned in. It's so bad. But then it died off after that, thankfully.
Smashing too many windows with his arrows.
So anything else major been delayed?
Everything is delayed. Your life is delayed.
That is the theme of 2020. You want it? No.
That coffee you want to drink? Delayed. That bus you want to catch? Delayed.
That shit you're going to take? Delayed.
Delayed.
That's called constipation, my friend.
Well, now it's called delayed stipation.
My opening greeting on this show, still delayed.
Tom's
Stadia
intro,
announcing anything to do with their platform they've just released? Delayed.
But no, really, Cyberpunk 2077 went from April 16th to September 17th.
I always thought that one would be delayed. I really did, because it just seemed too broad in what they're trying to achieve.
Are you calling it fat?
Yes.
Oh.
Also,
but I'm not fat shaming. If it wants to be fat, it can be fat.
A game that was supposed to come out last week that I was semi-looking forward to, and then went to the store. I'm like, I should probably go pick this up. Found out, delayed. And it wasn't given a specific delayed to release date. It just said sometime this summer, maybe. But Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Remaster.
Oh, I wasn't even aware of that one.
Yeah, that was supposed to come out the 28th.
I didn't know that was coming out.
Yeah, you did, because we talked about it.
Final Fantasy VII Remake's obviously been delayed. It's only by a few weeks, but...
At least it's only like a few weeks. If they'd said, it's coming out in 2021, that would have been horrendous.
Yeah, Avengers been delayed from May until September.
Iron Man VR.
Iron Man VR, which I was looking forward to. That's now in May instead of February. Dying Light 2 has been delayed indefinitely.
That game seems to be in production forever.
That doesn't bode well, because apparently Dying Light 1 was pretty good.
Yeah. Let's not also forget that Last of Us 2 had already been delayed before all this. Animal Crossing got delayed. Was it
Doom
yeah, Animal
Eternal.
Crossing got delayed. Doom Eternal got delayed. 2 Point Hospital for consoles got delayed.
Has Watch Dogs Legion been delayed, or was that
That
always
got delayed. Yeah.
Yeah.
They always originally slated for January.
When was
February,
2 Point originally supposed to be out?
before Christmas.
This is the interesting thing about games, though, because obviously they want to announce them early, build up all the hype and stuff, but this delay thing happens all the time. And
I mean, I'm not
it's-
complaining. I want it out there. I am. Don't get me wrong. It's a bit irritating, but I would rather a game come out good.
I don't think a
Then
game has ever come
early.
out worse because it's been delayed.
Exactly.
So would I, but the question is it not better for them to just announce it nearer the time when they know it's nearing completion? And then this also ties into crunch culture because they have to crunch to hit a release date.
Yeah, but they can't do that because they have earnings reports and they have deadlines to hit and investors
know,
to
it's
appease.
Capitalism for you, Dan. That's what it is.
But I don't like it. All right. Big ups to the developers. I'm on your side.
Don't like it.
Just don't make it for Stadia because it's shite.
I like that you always kind of go Yorkshire when you're talking about Stadia.
It's your Stadia voice.
Oh, God. Right. Speaking of Yorkshire, oh, man, I had a complete lost in translation moment a few weeks ago. like round here in Sheffield in Yorkshire. So in the UK, depending where you are in the country, everywhere like the people in each region call like a bread roll, like a bun, like a circular piece of bread sort of thing. Everywhere in the country, they
like a
call them
bread
different
wren.
things. Yeah, like a bread wren. They call them different things around the country. So there's obviously bread roll, bread bun. There's like some places call it a barm. Some places call it a bread cake.
Anyone call it a
I'm trying to
bap?
Bap, yeah, bap is one of them. So
Stotty is one.
is Stotty one of them? I've not heard that one. But yeah, depending where you are across the country, there's all these different fucking names. And when there's this like sandwich shop near me here, and I went in, and I normally just have like bacon rolls and stuff from them, but I'd never been there during lunchtime, and they had like chicken and pork and like for them to put in like smoked pork and stuff like that. And they when it was like, oh yeah, do you do like hot chicken and stuff in rolls? And she just looked at me completely gone out, pointed up towards the rolls and went, is that what you call a roll? And I'm like completely dead in my eye, and I was like, yes. It turns out in Sheffield it's bread cake. Who the fuck knew?
What? Bread cake?
Yeah, fucking bread cake. Oh, I don't know.
Bread and cake.
I'm sorry,
They're a
anyone
bunch of
listening.
friggin' bread cakes, I can tell you that.
Anyone listening in Yorkshire, I'm sorry, but I don't know.
Bread and cake are inherently two
But
different things.
She just looked at me dead in the eye and pointed at them behind her. I'm like, is that what you call a roll?
You fucking idiot.
Is that what you call a roll? It's a bread cake.
Don't start the Argos thing.
Fuck.
Take your eyes off Stadia, lad, and look at the bread cake. So weird, Mike.
Oh, God knows. I just don't know. It was a nice view of your phone there, Dan. Thanks.
Thanks. Enjoy it.
Anyway, what were we talking about? Sorry.
What have we been playing?
Things
Mike,
to
you
do.
finally got around to finishing something pretty big.
I did, yeah. It wasn't the game of the week, that's for sure.
I don't think anybody finished that.
Actually, I need to put a bit of a PSA out. I, in the words of Ringo Starr, I've got too much to do. I'm warning you with peace and love that the next few shows for a while, I might not get very far in the games unless it's things like an emulator work. My apologies about that. But anyway, to completely contradict that, I finished Death Stranding.
Priorities, Mike. Priorities.
Yeah. What can I say? That game's batshit mental, isn't it?
Yeah, but you get to the end and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay. Makes sense.
Oh yeah. Knew what was going on and stuff. Like, there's a few
Which
little
is
bits
mad
afterwards.
because it is batshit mental.
Yeah,
like you
there's
said.
kind of a few bits like I wanted to delve in deeper with the meaning behind and stuff like that. So like after I finished, I did do a bit of sort of research and stuff. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. I remember giving it the big one beforehand of like, people say that they're a Hideo Kojima fan and they're probably just a Metal Gear fan, and I included myself in that. And this is now a different series I've gone into. Well, I say series, a different game style of game I've gone into with Hideo Kojima, and yeah, it's fucking mental. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I can't see me ever playing it again, though.
Nope. I can't ever see me putting it back in.
It'd be a hard one to go back to.
I actually just deleted it from my hard drive last night. I was clearing up some space. Am I ever going to put this in again? No, probably not. Delete. There's 50 gigs.
But yeah,
Mike,
I think I did.
Mike, what about that bit with the spaceship at the end as well? How exciting was that,
So
man?
you and your fucking spaceships.
Is that the one that had the dog in it too? Is controlling everything? It's fucking great.
Is that the one where after you walked across the bit that looked like Iceland every 22 minutes, it reset and you went back to Capital Knot City?
The Royal Rumble, WWE's Royal Rumble was last weekend, and I obviously get up for work very early, so I couldn't stay up to watch it. And I know Dan would. I was avoiding the internet all day, and I said to Dan, if you see any spoilers, please don't tell me, because I want to get home and I want to watch it without any spoilers. And he was just like, all day, he was like, oh, that bit where the spaceship came in at the end. So you're obsessed. Don't ever write a book. We'll know what the ending is.
I already am.
This is Dan Curtis's screenplay. You'll never
I think
guess the
Tom
ending.
said Kat does that, though. Kat can't stand surprises, so she'll read the last page of a book before she actually reads the book. Or she'll look up spoilers on a movie.
No, wasn't it the other way around?
I love it.
She didn't want to go see the new Star Wars because she accidentally saw spoilers and it got ruined for her.
No, I distinctly remember Tom telling me that she'll sit and look up spoilers for movies or games that they're playing because she doesn't like to be surprised.
Oh, that's weird.
I think I remember that as well.
Yeah.
That is the complete antithesis to me. I fucking hate spoilers. I cannot stand them.
Yeah. If something gets spoiled, I'm like, well, I just don't even want to see it now.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew about the whole Tony Stark thing going into Endgame, and Christy and I finally got around to watching Endgame, and she didn't know about it, so it was like super impactful for her, but I'm just sitting there going the whole time like, well, when's this going to happen?
Yeah, the same thing happened to me. I went where I used to work. We went on a works outing to go and see the first of the new Star Wars movies. And literally about half an hour before we went, some guy who I was going with showed me a picture of something big that happens at the end of that, let's say. And
is it when the spaceship comes in?
Yes.
Because it's a Star Wars film.
See, it's a good end to anything.
Thanks, Mike.
That's my treatment for a book. I've literally just wrote spaceship at the end.
My spoiler ending is always when everybody dies. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, he came in and showed you a picture of that. Continue your story.
Oh yeah, he showed me a picture of that, so it completely ruined it. And we were going to see it that night, and I was absolutely furious.
Asshole. Did you make him pay for your ticket at least?
No, I just kicked him up the arse.
Just sat in the seat behind him, kicking him throughout the entire film.
Just flicking popcorn at his head.
But yeah, I am back to Death Stranding. I kept it off of my Game of the Year list last year because I hadn't played enough of it. As it stands at the moment, it will definitely be on there for this year, depending on
unless you forget about it. Like
no, well, it's on my list. It's on my list. But yeah, no, really, really fantastic experience. I think, you know, I've gone back to what I've said before in my earlier, comments about it when I was earlier in the game. But you know, I can see why a lot of people didn't get on with it. It's not for everyone at all. I mean, I think it was just under 60 hours I put in. Wow. It is a big investment of time. And if you're not enjoying the main gameplay loop, you're not, there's no point. If the story hasn't grabbed you and you're not enjoying the main gameplay loop, there is no point in putting that much time into it, I don't think. But I go back to what I've said before.
Too, right, Mike?
Yeah, but I'll go back to what I said before about I always felt like it was giving me something new to do, whether it was a new item or going through a brand new area. And in some ways, the world itself is the character. You know, you end up at, it's not really spoilers, but, there's points where you go through different kinds of weather, like, you go through snowy areas and stuff like that. And it completely changes the way you play the game. And for people to say, oh, it's a fucking walking simulator, I still argue against
it's not
that.
At all.
Sure.
We've talked about this in the past, but like you say, the fact that they constantly give you new things all the time is what keeps you going, I think. And I think the gameplay loop is so rewarding because they give you all this new stuff going forward. Then you're like, oh, I've now got this, and this will help me get to here. Mm-hmm. It's one of the few games over the years I've played where I felt everything I've got was useful in some way. Whereas with other games, it might just be there, and you might never use it.
Yeah, no, and I just always felt like I was kind of rewarded every single time. You know, there were some times you'd go on proper long treks, and you've said before, Dan, for example, things like Skyrim and Fallout. Sometimes you'll do these huge like dungeons and caves and things like that, and you'll get to the end, and the reward is like a weapon that's probably worse than the ones you've already got. You know, and the reward isn't there. Yeah, with Death Stranding, I felt like every time I'd gone through a long area or done something difficult, I always felt like I was rewarded at the end, whether that was with a bit of story or a new item or just something new altogether.
The exact same thing has happened with me recently. So I've in between the last couple of shows, I've finished Borderlands 3, which I don't get us wrong, I enjoyed immensely, but this whole looting the gun things, I think I spent probably about 50% of that game with the same gun because everything I found was inferior to it.
That's how I found Borderlands 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah, so it's like, it's just kind of, there's all these guns, but I'm just picking them up and I'm not going to use them because this gun fires ridiculous explosive rounds which make people explode into bits.
Sell it?
So you sell it, you end up selling it, and then, but very occasionally you will find something good and new. But I think that's part of the problem with these looter things.
I mean, I do have some complaints about Death Stranding. I think I've heard a lot of people don't get to the end of Chapter 3, and I can see why. Chapter 3 is the longest chapter in the game, and a lot of Chapter 3 doesn't have a lot of story beats. It feels like you get to the end of Chapter 3, and it feels like you get to the end of Chapter 3, and suddenly it's remembered that there is actually a story. And again, that's a difficult barrier to push past for some people. My other complaint as well, I mean, I don't mind, I know you are not a fan of it, Eric, but I don't mind real actors being in video games at all.
Depends.
I mean, like Mads Mikkelsen in it, for example, is amazing.
He was awesome.
But Norman Reedus as the main character, like, I always feel, this is my criticism, it's a criticism of Norman Reedus rather than Death Stranding, but I feel like he plays the same character and acts the same way in everything that he does, and this is no exception. So
kind of like
when I was playing it, I didn't like his character that much because I'm sick of this same old Norman Reedus fucking Daryl from Walking Dead character that he does for everything. And I think it was a poor choice for the character because I think the character actually could have been much more interesting if played by somebody with a bit more, a few more acting chops, really.
Yeah. Should have been David Hayter, guys.
Yeah, you could have done that. But no, yeah, I love Death Stranding. I think since Breath of the Wild, it's the first time I put that many hours into a game, and it kept me hooked the entire time. I generally, with long games, sometimes get to a point where it's like, I'm just going to go and do the ending now. I mean, you can't really do that with Death Stranding anyway. You can't really just go off and do the ending. But, even as I was getting towards the end, I did say to Hazel, right, I'm going to try and finish Death Stranding tonight. But that wasn't me wanting to get it finished because I'm bored. It's because I feel like I'm getting towards the end and I'm just going to crack on.
You always kind of hit that point with these kind of games. You don't want it to end, but at the same time, you kind of like, I kind of want to see how this wraps up now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because with Death Stranding, in theory, you could wander the world for hours on end just doing side missions. So you just kind of get to that point. You're not necessarily fatigued. You just kind of want to see how it all wraps up.
You ready? And when sometimes like your backlog looms over you. This is why I think I've said a few times like recently. I mean, I say recently, it's over the past year or so. If I've decided that I'm just not having fun in a game, I'm not going to push myself to finish it just because I feel like the need to finish it. I play games to have fun.
Yeah.
And
which is why I also don't do a lot of the side quests on everything. So I actually just picked up Assassin's Creed Odyssey on your recommendation, Dan, which, by the way, is the tip of both of my nipples.
I'm so glad that you like this game because I was wondering if you would, and
it's a freaking blast. It's so much fun.
It only gets better over time as well. It just gets better and better.
But you're right. Very, very quickly, your map gets cluttered with shit to do. Like, I don't want to do that. I just don't have time knowing how long the story is going to be on this. I just got to the part where you actually get to start influencing nations. And that's when it just goes, all right, here's all these side quests. Here's your main quest. Here's just random shit to do. What do you want to do? You want to do all of it? You want to do none of it? Whatever, go stab that guy. And
I took it more kind of like Skyrim, that one, where I would just wander and see what happened for the most part.
I play it on exploration mode as well, but I do still set waypoints on the map so I know where I'm going instead of like... So, for example, instead of just giving you a compass that says, here's where you need to go, for your quest, they'll say this location is on the southern tip of this island near a shipwreck. So it gives you clues on where to go instead of just putting a gold star there and saying travel to this spot.
Yeah. I love that system, though. I think it's really good. It kind of gives it an element of extra challenge rather than just follow this map marker.
So I always forget just how polished those games are, because I've been playing probably about 8 hours of it, and last night I decided to jump back into Greedfall. And Greedfall is very similar in gameplay and mechanics to Assassin's Creed. But oh boy, is it unpolished. It is a very unpolished Assassin's Creed. Doesn't mean it's bad. It's just the things that you just kind of take for granted in these AAA title games just aren't there, or they're there, but they're very poorly executed. Like, oh, if I could only do that.
Yeah. You've got to think the scope of Assassin's Creed Odyssey as well, for them to pull that off with the level of polish that it's got. It's amazing, really.
Well, and Cassandra is so likable, too. She is such a cool character. I know you can play as Alexios.
She's badass, isn't she?
Yeah. The setting for me is super cool, too, just that particular time period. But I didn't play Black Flag, so I didn't get a whole lot of experience with the sailing aspect. A little bit of it in Assassin's Creed 3, but in Odyssey, it's great. It's a ton of fun to just go cleaving ships in two.
It's just cool that you can just take your boat anywhere you want and kind of just go off and explore and find all these different things. Like, no matter where you go, you'll find something to do.
I'd be lying.
Does it turn into a spaceship at the end?
Yes.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't. To be honest,
Mike, in Assassin's Creed, that would make sense.
I'd be lying if I said I hadn't thought about paying the $10 for that Level Up Faster DLC.
I think I probably would.
Yeah.
Don't, man. It's good to enjoy at length. Just play it slowly.
Not all of us have 30 hours a day to play video games like you, Dan.
Shut up, 70 hours in Death Stranding, man. Just ignored the game of the week to finish Death Stranding. Mike Tyson over here.
Quiet you. So, speaking as somebody who played the first Assassin's Creed, played a demo of, I think, 2, and just never really got on with them. How different, because I've heard this one is very different. How different is this?
Extremely. So
I actually made a comment where I feel like this is more akin to Witcher than it is to the previous Assassin's Creed games. It definitely has a different feel to it. You can still tell at its heart it's Assassin's Creed, but it feels like a brand new open world style game. It's really refreshing.
So the combat system is being completely revamped for this one, with Origins. The year the 2 years before this, and basically the combat is now it used to be basically kind of like Arkham, where you would just press X and then you would stab someone, but now it's more kind of based on hitboxes and timing and things like that. So you can use R1 to strike and R2 to do a heavy attack, and then you get special skills you can use in the combat.
You can parry if you time it right, which will stagger them and give you another window.
Kind of Dark Soulsy in a way, but it also has elements of Skyrim, because the compass at the top now looks like the one on Skyrim, where you wander from place to place and it'll come up with different things as you get near them. And it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's just kind of become my evening stabby stab game, and I'll play maybe 45 minutes to an hour at a time. It's nothing that I have any, honestly, illusions of getting through anytime soon, but I'm so glad I got it on the One X. It is a gorgeous game.
Yeah. One of the really cool things about it, Mike, as well, is it does have an overlying storyline going through it, but there's kind of these different arcs of the story which you can follow at different points. So there's these, I can't remember the exact name for them, Eric. What, have you got to that bit yet, where you have to hunt down the guys?
The bounties?
No, there's specific... it's kind of like the Nemesis system on Shadow of Mordor, where you have to unlock these... Yeah. You kind of have to unravel clues to find the locations of these people who are in this order, which is basically a precursor to the Templars, and you have to find them and kill them, basically, and that's one of the story arcs. And then there's others going off from that, and other stuff going on, and it's just cool, man.
It's really interwoven. I do like the bounty system, where if you're fucking around and killing people in certain factions, you'll start to get a bounty put on your head, but you have multiple ways you can get that bounty off. You can either pay it off, or you can go and murder the person who put the bounty on your head. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of neat stuff to do. And
sometimes they're real high level compared to you, and the fight is real difficult.
Yeah. Well, what's really cool too is the concept of Ikaros, your crow or your raven, eagle, where you can send them up in the air and scout things out and use them as kind of a reconnaissance drone, where it's like, all right, there's all those people down there, and then it tags them for you, so you keep a track of where they are. And
makes no sense whatsoever.
No,
yeah,
none at all, none at all. But no, good recommendation.
That ties into the whole eagle vision thing of Assassin's Creed from the past and stuff.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But
so over the past few weeks, I have popped back in Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch.
You got to stop telling me about that, because you know I'm going to cave and want to play that again.
Oh man, I forgot. Like, I loved this when I first played it. I haven't played it for years since I last played it, and I don't actually own it because I think I borrowed it from Game Station when I worked there. And oh my god, I love this game so much. It just oozes charm. To talk.
It is. I love Drippy. Drippy is just incredible.
Oh, Drippy is the best. And it's so much better than the second one. It's so much more polished. It's more like a traditional RPG. It just plays better.
If they took the combat system from 2 and dropped it into 1, I can't get on with the familiars from number 1. I just can't it.
But going back, I actually like this combat system better.
I just didn't like having to go in and feed my familiars all the time. I prefer the concept of the Higgledies.
You don't have to. You just get more rewards if you do.
I know.
See, my issue really like with games with games that have that kind of like Pokemon kind of style where you're collecting monsters and stuff like that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because of my history with Pokemon and growing up with it and stuff like that. And, you know, so many of the like early Pokemon especially are so iconic. And then when you play something like Ni no Kuni and you get these like monsters that you've never known or anything like that before, and they're not iconic already, and you know, and it's my fault because I'm not the one who's getting to know them and stuff like that. I don't know, I can't get on with it as well.
Yeah,
but you got to think when you played Red and Blue, you didn't know the Pokemon as much.
Yes and no, because obviously there was the cartoon and stuff, and it was. And at the time that Red and Blue came out, the whole Pokemon craze was happening, and I probably did know the Pokemon before I even caught them. Suddenly I find a Ponyta, I'm like, oh fuck, it's a Ponyta, stuff like that.
Yeah, I know, but this, it's part of the combat system pretty heavily in this, but also it's not the core loop of the gameplay.
It's
kind
not
of
at
thing.
all.
The collecting for me it's not like a priority. It's just there. It's not like on Pokemon where you can catch anything you encounter. There's a 3 to 5% chance that you might be able to catch one of the monsters. And after you kill them, some hearts might appear over them. And that means you can catch them. But it's not like a priority. The main hook is kind of saving the world.
I don't know. I started playing it on PS3, and I too much was going on at the time. I think if I was going to play it again, I'd get it on Switch and start again and be able to play it and stuff.
I think I would need to play it on Switch too, and that would be my bedtime game.
Game. What was that other game you said you've been playing?
20XX. That consumed
20X
me.
Hamster.
Yes, 20X Hamster. 20 tabs of it open at once.
I can confirm that 20XX is real good.
It is beyond real good. I finally, I don't want to say beat it, but I beat it with the first character, Nina, who is your traditional Mega Man character. What I like about this game is no matter how far you're into it, your run could either be really good or really shit, and it is just a pure roll of the dice, depending on which...
It's very like Dead Cells in that respect, but for me, Eric, Dead Cells is like superior to this in every way. It was decent, but it was nowhere near as good.
No, I'll admit, because I did pop in Dead Cells after this just to take a peek at it, and made it about 40 minutes into my first run, and I need to be careful because I have a tendency to get really, really addicted to roguelike games. And Dead Cells.
I've played Dead Cells for 2 years. Do it. It's great. I just for the first time, so on Dead Cells, after you beat it, you get things called boss cells, which increase the difficulty and you get better rewards. So I've just beaten, after 2 years of gameplay, I have beaten 3 boss cells. So I'm now on 4 boss cells. which is so difficult, man. It's ridiculous. So you now get this thing called malaise, which is a disease. So anytime an enemy hits you, it fills up this bar. And when this bar fills up, it takes away all your health.
Oh. So you have to beat him in a certain amount of time.
No, there's no time limit, but it's so difficult, man.
Jesus. But yeah, so with 20XX, you start off with 2 characters. Nina, who's your traditional Mega Man clone, and then you have...
Who?
Oh, God, what's...
Ace?
Is it Ace or Axel?
I think it's Ace.
It's Ace, who is kind of your Zero clone, runs around with a sword, which makes the game harder because obviously you can't shoot. But after you beat the game with either one of them, you unlock 2 other characters. One of them has a whip, and the other has a mace. I think that's what it is. But
big mallet, I want to say.
Yeah, either way, any of the 3 that don't have a gun make the game extremely difficult. It was probably 5 or 10 runs with Ace before I made it through at least 2 bosses, because everything is close quarters. But as you continue playing, you continue unlocking more items that make your runs easier and faster and a lot more entertaining. But I've probably dumped 30 hours into that game and finally went, I need to take a break. This is a bit much.
Jumped into
move on to Dead Cells.
Yeah.
Both Stephanie and Buddy Bell were chatting loads about Binding of Isaac on our community group, and they kind of gave me the itch to play Binding of Isaac again. I think I ducked out of Pokemon for a bit, which I did roll the credits on these past few weeks as well. But I ducked out of Pokemon for a few days. I think it was about 4 or 5 days straight. I played nothing but Binding of Isaac on my Switch when I was at work.
And I
fell down the rabbit hole again for a few days. I won't begin to understand like all of the stuff that Stephanie and Buddy were talking about in terms of all the unlocks and stuff like that. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to play it and do some runs and stuff like that. And I don't know, just it got me again for a few days, and I was like, oh no.
That same conversation.
I love Binding of Isaac. It's fantastic. I've played it to death, and I sometimes go back, but Dead Cells is my kind of game I go to when I want to play something just for a little bit.
That same conversation piqued my interest too, because I have always really enjoyed the concept of it. I bought it when it very first came out on Steam. God, probably back in 2012, 2013. And dumped quite a bit of time into it, but apparently never got very far. So I reinstalled it, and I think it came out free on PS4. I didn't have the Afterbirth DLC or Afterbirth Plus or anything like that. And I think I've determined that I like the concept of it better than I actually like the game. I am not good at that, and I don't understand why. I struggle, like genuinely struggle to get even to the 3rd level.
So did I, but you just persevere.
I have a lot of hours into the Steam version and have never made it further than the 4th level.
Have you tried fighting against your natural idiotic tendencies?
No, I haven't.
That's where you're going
Buddy
wrong.
said to me that I should just play on hard because it's not that much harder than normal. So like this few days that I spent playing it again, I went onto hard mode, and yeah, it wasn't actually too much harder, and I actually felt like I was getting rewarded for it, which was nice. But yeah, I think it's always going to be one of those. I took a punt on Binding of Isaac. It was one of the first few games I bought when I got my Switch because it was. I think I went on base or something like that, and it was on offer. It was real cheap, and I'd heard that it was pretty good. I'd never played it, and I just took a punt on it. And I think it's one of those games where I will always kind of dip in every now and again.
That game is real hard to find a physical copy of. They don't sell it anymore.
That's why I got the physical copy on Switch because it came with like some stickers and stuff.
It is really difficult to find.
Interesting. No, I'd say I ordered it online when I first got my Switch.
Yeah,
it was interesting. Yeah.
Can't find it here.
Look good on that shelf, Eric.
Boy, would it. Boy, would it. I don't think I've been playing anything else.
Oh, I bought Hellblade.
Yes! The one that Tom ruined for you.
Yeah. No, can't get past the derpy faces, Eric. I'm not going to lie.
God, man, that's just uninstall city right there. You
know what? I'm enjoying it. I think the story is better than the gameplay, but I think it's a cool concept.
Oh yeah, I think me and Tom both said on the game of the year.
I play it more.
I think me and Tom both said on the Game of the Year show that, in some ways the gameplay is quite simplistic, but in terms of its delivery and its style and just how it puts everything across, especially its sound design and stuff like that, it's what brings that game together.
Christy
the
and I
sound
have
design
added
is
that
phenomenal.
to,
I've been playing it with headphones on, and it's so cool.
Christy and I have added that to our list of games that we're going to play through together.
Yeah, it won't take you long. It's not too long of a game.
I enjoy the weighty combat.
Seconds.
The combat's decent. I like it.
Yeah.
I like when somebody sneaks
sure.
up behind you if you've got headphones on, you can hear a voice in your left ear going, behind you.
Yeah.
That's
so
really cool.
But the second one's been announced for Xbox Series X and Xbox One, so I guess so. But that Ninja Theory is a Microsoft Studio now, so I assume that'll come to Game Pass day one. And
Now,
if all their games are
am I
still going to be
going
playing on
mental?
Xbox One, I've got myself the One X, so I'll still be able to play it. And I am
Or
excited.
did Sony acquire Insomniac?
Sony got Insomniac, yeah.
I thought they did.
Yeah.
Because they were talking the other day about making Sunset Overdrive 2, and then they said, ask Xbox. So
No. I think you've got that mixed up a bit. There was questions about Sunset Overdrive coming to PlayStation, but no, the first one's technically owned by Xbox, but they can still make a second one that they could put on PlayStation if they made it.
okay.
I'm sure that was it. Don't quote me on that.
I'm going to
Don't
quote
at
you.
me.
I'm going to quote you.
No.
So, guys, should we get on to our
Hello.
game of the week?
It's not the same without Tom zoom in.
Yeah, sorry. Hang on.
I would do it, but it would just be even blurrier.
No,
Hang
but
on.
Mike, you don't have the natural murder face.
Oh, no, it zoomed into the wrong place. Oh,
Look at my neck
sorry.
folds.
Yeah, well.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Pretend Tom did it and then laugh, and we'll move on.
Oh, Tom.
Oh, Tom, you're so funny.
You.
You silly.
Oh, Ragsy, you with your murder face.
Yeah. See, he's not been thrown under the bus yet, so.
Sorry, we got to give him a little bit of a pass.
All right.
Save that murder face for the wedding.
I can't wait to see the blooper photos from his wedding photos.
But probably just the real ones, if I'm honest.
The ultimate one, Mike, is still from your wedding outside where the confetti has been thrown. And if you zoom in on Tom, he literally looks like he's going to kill someone. It's
and then-
hilarious.
I love Cat's face on that one, too. Just what the hell
It's
is
like
going
all
on?
like prim and proper, and Tom's just next to it as like full on creeper.
I'm going to rape your skin.
I think Tom said it best. I think recently he said, like, "What? How have I even done that face?" As you point a camera at that guy, something happens.
You see the demons within.
Because don't get us wrong, 9 times out of 10, Tom looks great.
Yeah, Tom's a good-looking
you point a
dude, but
camera at him.
Handsome dude.
man, that guy can really,
Scare some kids.
he can.
Yeah, so look out for those in August. We'll share a couple.
Dear.
So what's the game of the week anyway?
I don't even remember who picked it, but this week we have.
It was me.
Oh, Mike, would you care to tell us about
Yeah, tell
we
us
play-
all about this game that you didn't play, Jess.
Well,
spoilers?
you guys played Conker's Bad Fur Day for the N64.
Are you ready to do your greeting yet, Mike?
No, not yet. Don't ruin the surprise.
Okay.
It's still been delayed. I would give you an exact minute marker if it's been delayed too, but I can't remember how long the unwrapped was. So Conker's Bad Fur Day released on the N64.
It's actually a
In
revisit for us.
Yeah, you guys did it in the early days, didn't you?
I'm trying to figure out when we actually did it.
Yeah. It was released in North America on the 5th of March 2001 and in Europe on the 13th of April 2001.
And we covered it on episode 36.
Ooh. It was published by two different companies. It was published by Rare in North America and THQ in Europe. Something to do with
it has to do with the censorship
localization or something.
No, censorship.
It is a 3D platformer, kind of a bit of a collectathon kind of thing in the style of, like Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64 and stuff like that. The big difference on this one is it has very mature themes compared to the other ones. So Conker himself, he swears, he drinks, he
pisses on fiery demons.
Pisses on fiery demons.
Rubs his face or bounces off of sunflower boobs. It's great.
Yeah, so this was the big thing with that. Originally, it was supposedly a bit more akin to Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that.
Well, it's supposed to be called something 12 Tales.
12 Tales, Conker 64, not Conker. 12 Tales, Conker 64. It was going to be like stratty-based settings and stuff like that, and then it ended up being turned into sort of this 3D idea, and they basically said it was too similar to Banjo-Kazooie and stuff like that, so their way to make it different was to add in the toilet humor, basically.
Well, and that was kind of a backlash to how it was referred to as another generic kiddie game. They're like, oh, all right, well then let's go to the other end of the spectrum here.
Yeah, which I am shocked that they managed to convince Nintendo to release, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's a real surprising game on the Nintendo platform. Let us not forget that this was re-released on Xbox as Conker Live and Reloaded, and the Conker Live and Reloaded version on Xbox is actually more censored than the original Nintendo version.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like the Great and Mighty Pooh song, for example, is heavily censored in the Xbox version.
That's weird.
Censored how?
I don't think they say twat and stuff like that.
Oh, God, you need to say that.
Twat. Twat must always be said. Now, obviously I didn't get very far in this.
Did you make it into the game at all?
Yeah, sure. I made it into the barn where you fight the pitchforks.
So not far.
Not far at all. No.
Not far.
No, probably less than 40 minutes. But I made it past the title screen. I haven't gone full Jess.
Where's he gone? There he is.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I had a thought here for something. You said this was kind of akin to the original Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, which, if you don't pick up on it, is the sequel to Banjo-Kazooie because of the two in the second part of the name, Tooie.
I don't get it.
Yeah, but it's also TOO, so it's like Kazooie as well as Banjo.
So they could have also called it Banjo also E, but that didn't quite ring as well as Tooie. So it's a complex joke. We could, we'll write an article about it.
we could do an entire episode on it.
Yeah. Maybe when
we have, given how much we've talked about it.
Maybe eventually that game will be on the show, and then we can spend a little bit more time delving into the nomenclature of the title and why it makes sense. But I think it may have been too deep of a title for kids at that age because I didn't get it then. So,
nor did you as an adult.
You're right. I didn't. So the original Rare games were kind of collectathons, like you mentioned, but this one kind of went the other direction. There wasn't a lot of stuff to pick up. There wasn't a lot of combat options. Instead, they opted for context-sensitive pads where essentially Conker just has his frying pan and his jump and tail spin, which is kind of a harken to Miles Prower from Sonic. Looks very similar to Miles when he's flying. Anybody else?
Oh, I thought you were on about the listener, Miles Prower. I've seen him flying around.
I don't know if he had. I mean, he may have a prehensile tail, but I don't know. We don't need proof. If you do, awesome. If you don't, that's okay too.
I prefer it if you did, though. That would be well cool.
And if you could spin it around, just like meat spin, but with your tail.
You were going to say meat spin. Knew it.
He's never far away from the spin.
It's my favorite thing on the internet.
Hashtag meat spin, never forget.
Yeah, so this game relies very, very heavily on cutscenes and
meat
voice
spinning.
work. There is an incredible amount of voice acting, which in the end made it one of the very few N64 games to feature one of the 64 megabit cartridge.
Interesting. Also, regarding the voice work, all of the male characters was done by one guy, which was Chris Seaver, who was also the director of the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, every single male character was done by him.
Some of them do sound quite similar, I must admit.
I'm going to see if I can find a list of the other N64 games that took 64 meg cartridges. I probably should have had that up, but I didn't.
It's interesting. I mean, the brief bits of this that I played on Rare Replay on the Xbox, and I tell you what, the voice work's good. The actual audio of the voice work, leaves a lot to be desired.
But if you look at what the N64 was working with in terms of the sound chip, it was not that good. And the CD quality, that's one of the main reasons Sony went with the disc, is because of the quality you could get out of the CD versus what you could get out of a cartridge.
Oh yeah, for sure. But they a lot of the voice work on this, the voice work itself is great, but the actual sound of it sounds a little bit like it was recorded through a bucket. The voice actor was just talking into a metal bucket, and then they put the microphone below that. If you can just imagine that, that's how it sounded.
Real quick
it's
here,
like the audio quality of this show before we got new mics.
Real quick here, I found a list of some of the other ones: Conker, Resident Evil 2, Pokemon Stadium 2, and the PAL version of Paper Mario. But the US version is only 40 meg. So
interesting.
I'll see if I can come up with more of it. But
they do say bigger is better, Eric, so we win this one.
We don't know about that. Yeah, so that's kind of what Conker is, but it is very uncharacteristic of a Nintendo game. And they did not try to market this towards kids at all. They didn't even try to pretend to. When they were advertising this game, it was being advertised in Playboy and Maxim, and they even released a little brochure called Conker's Little Black Book that had, they were pretty poorly drawn advertisements, but I don't know, I thought they were kind of funny. I sent that to you guys, right?
It kind of goes for this whole kind of, well, basically our humor, kind of teenage humor, but in adult form.
Oh, absolutely. But it revolves entirely around
humor-wise,
shit.
it is right up my alley. I must admit, it's very amusing.
Well, I mean, just the opening of it. I mean, the very opening of it. Well, not the very opening, because it starts off with kind of a almost like a parody of A Clockwork Orange. But the very beginning of the game is Conker, who's just got absolutely wankered in a pub, who needs to try and get home, but he's really hungover, and the first thing you need to do is cure his hangover. I mean, that's not very Nintendo at all.
Yeah, but you know what he pops to cure that hangover? A fucking Alka-Seltzer. And it kicks in immediately.
I love that so much.
Like, could you imagine starting Mario 64 and he's like, oh, I had too much to drink.
But apparently they tried to emulate Mario 64 in every aspect of this game in terms of how you control yourself in an open world, because that was the gold standard.
Well, it failed.
Yeah, this camera is rough.
Now, you guys did yourselves a real disservice with this, because I emulated this, and one of the beauties of emulation is you can remap your controller. So I had the C buttons remapped to the right analog stick, but as standard in Conker's Bad Fur Day, the camera pans inverted on the x-axis. So I flipped it round so it would work naturally.
Lucky.
Which was loads better.
So in regard to the camera here, I want to read something. The developers explained that they'd drawn inspiration from their deep analysis of the gameplay and game mechanics of Mario 64. And according to them, we were just copying Mario, which is still the best 3D camera, and a lot of time and care was spent on the system performance optimization, animation details, and AV appeal. To increase the number of simultaneous light sources to 4, one programmer spent 4 months deciphering and rewriting the Nintendo-supplied Japanese commented microcode for the N64's Reality coprocessor, while another microcoded the support for MP3 reverberation and Dolby Pro Logic sound output. Another developer also spent weeks optimizing the system's ability to display distant backdrops as texture tiles to enhance gameplay navigation and visual appeal.
This was no walk in the park, was it really?
No, this game was not just a bunch of shit, tit, and fart jokes. There was a lot going on behind the scenes.
There's a lot of them, though.
Oh, there were plenty.
The interesting thing is, like, when you look at it, I mean, N64 games and original PlayStation games, you know, that it was through that weird sort of puberty of 3D gaming, and looking back on it now, it all does look pretty bad. But for the time, if you think about Mario 64, if you think about the actual backgrounds and things like that, if you think of Bob on Battlefield, when you first get in there, you're almost on like a floating island, and if you look out, you know, it's just like the sky, and it's there's nothing really there. Whereas, you know, the few parts of this game that I saw, and obviously the images and videos of this that I've seen before as well, there's always something kind of in the background. There's always things going on. So, you know, if you were to relate this, even though it looks terrible to us now, and it does look terrible, don't get me wrong, if you can compare it to some of those other 3D adventures on the N64, you know, that work that, you know, you've just talked about, it really, really does show.
Yeah, they were definitely making the best of what they had.
It's a well put together little game, I must say.
I'm not going to go that far.
In most aspects it is, and then it kind of falls off towards the end. But
so the story of the game is, Mike, you started to go on to it. Do you want to finish it, or?
No, I'll let you, because obviously you guys played a little bit more than me. So
yeah, so Conker comes out with a raging hangover and goes on to explain how, well, actually at the beginning, it shows him sitting on a throne surrounded by a bunch of animals as king. And then he says, let me tell you how I got here. It all started with whatever. And it all started with, what did he say? A really bad day. And essentially there is
bad fur day.
Yeah, there you go. Cause he's covered in fur and instead of bad hair. You get it. We'll go on to it when we do the Banjo-Tooie show. The bad guy is King Panther. Is that his name, Dan? King Panther?
Yes,
Panther King. So he is drinking milk, and his cup falls off of his table because his table is missing a leg. And he instructs one of his mad scientists to devise a way to prevent his table from tipping over and spilling his milk. So instead of putting
that is basically the entire plot.
That is the plot.
The very non-PC named Professor von Krippelspack.
I didn't know that.
Which, yeah, you can't really get away with that these days.
No. So his solution is, instead of whittle a new piece of wood to stick under there, or just attach a new leg or get him a new table, is to capture a squirrel to put under there. So the whole game is them trying to capture Conker to use him as a leg for a table to prevent a glass of milk from spilling.
But from Conker's standpoint, that isn't really a threat at any point. No. It's just kind of there, and he just goes from adventure to adventure with no context.
Exactly. He's just on his way home. But he's got a love interest named Barry, who he stands up and she gets captured. So he's technically trying to rescue her.
Sort of.
I mean, from the bit of the game that I saw, he wanted to get, like, he sorted out his hangover, then needed to get home, and then suddenly on his way home got distracted by just doing menial tasks for people. Which, yes. Let me tell you, I've been hungover before, and I have not been in the mood to do menial tasks for strangers.
Yes, especially ones who are in a worse state of wear than you.
Yeah, exactly.
So it is very Banjo-Kazooie in that the world is broken up into different segments that are all compartmentalized, and you can go in and discover different things to do within. There's no items to collect in order to complete that section, but it's all dialogue based. So you have to find people to talk to, and they give you hints on what they need. So, example, you'll go into the barn level, and you come across a giant pissed off metal block who's complaining about this fat bitch who's stuck on his back, and she's on his back because there is a mouse in front of them. So you have to go find 3 pieces of sentient cheese to bring them back and feed the mouse. And once you feed him enough, he explodes, and then she gets off.
I felt so guilty bringing the cheese back, because when you're bringing it back, it's going, oh no, please. It's just so funny.
The personification of everything in this game is friggin' hilarious. Like inside the barn, the paintbrush and
it's like American Tom. The pitchfork is basically American Tom in pitchfork form.
But how insensitive is that section where you get in there and the paintbrush the paintbrush and the bucket are harassing him? It's like, oh, you fucked up. You may as well just go kill yourself. Yeah, just go hang yourself. And oh, what a fucking idiot. You don't have a neck. How can you do that? And he's up there just hanging from a noose at the top of the barn, and you have to go down there and cut him loose. It's just ridiculous.
And then it from there it descends into these hair bundles of hair are basically jumping around the thing, and you have to kill them with the pitchfork.
Yeah.
And then one of them turns into a Terminator-style hair robot, and the ground collapses, and you end up in this underground chamber fighting this hair robot, and it's just so ridiculous.
I mean, it could have been more insensitive with how they originally pitched it. So I've got here, after Conker cuts Frankie the pitchfork from the hanging rope, Frankie says it was like one of them executions you hear about, to which Conker glances over at Ron and Reg, who appear as executioners. The scene was originally to have Frankie say it was one of those lynchings you hear about, with then Ron and Reg dressed as Ku Klux Klan members. However, Nintendo was shocked at the idea and decided against it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think they did well there not to put that bit in.
That scene would not have aged well.
I mean, it wouldn't have gone out very well, let alone aged well. Jesus.
Wow.
There was another one I read here as well. Let's see if I can find it. That's from later in the game. Where,
so should we go through this segment by segment? Or
we can. So
I can't remember. How do you beat the hair boss? I can't remember.
So you have to get the...
you have to... It shoots missiles at the pillars around the room.
Is that what
here we go. Sorry, just to interrupt. I was saying there was another thing that was quite risque that they cut out. This scene makes more sense to you guys who got further than me, but it says the game originally featured a cutscene that was removed from the game upon Nintendo's request. It's displayed of scenes of graphic torture and mutilation. The scene showed... Is it Teddy's, T-E-D-I-Z?
Yeah.
Cutting open a squirrel soldier who was pleading for his life, possibly performing a vivisection as Conker watched in horror at one point in the game.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
So there's...
Oh, here it is. Yeah. There was it was actually in the beta version of the game as well. Yeah, it would start off with him walking into a room where they'd see the two Teddys surgically eviscerating him. But apparently you go in there and they're just being horrible now.
There is Teddies later on who are kind of like mad doctors, so I imagine they repurpose those assets for that bit.
Well, they're supposed to be like mad scientist Nazis, aren't they?
Yeah, it's all set in like a World War II, so the game kind of descends into a pop culture-a-thon of the early 2000s as you go further forward.
To me, this game ends at the end of Chapter 5. Because once you hit Ooga Booga, it's like, all right, this is a different game, and it's not good.
Yeah, it's kind of strange from that point. It's kind of like they had ideas and then they ran out of ideas and just put out whatever.
So when you first come out, you end up into this section where it looks like a world hub, kind of like what you get in Banjo-Kazooie, where you can branch off to that. But then it kind of deviates from that. So you have the first section where you go and help the bee get her hive back, and then go into the barn section where you have to fight the hay bales with the pitchfork and the paintbrushes.
You start off originally meeting the scarecrow, don't you?
Oh yeah, what's his name? Birdie.
Yeah, supposedly he was based on a programmer at Rare who was nicknamed Beardy, which is why Conker initially thinks his name was Beardy.
And he liked to drink Pepsi Max, which is why
but they call it Mepsi Packs.
Mepsi Packs. I love that guy, because the first sign that you see that you're like, okay, this game's going to be a little crude is he's got a big sign next to him that just says, "Feck off, crows." Every time I think of that, I see that, I think of Father Ted.
Oh yeah, of course. So one of the important things to say going forward is the entire start of the game is basically trying to earn cash for, I forget what, but you need
which is also sentient.
Enough cash to get past a checkpoint, essentially. And you have to do all these menial tasks to get these sentient cash, which is in different places.
But the cash becomes emotionally attached to Conker, so whenever he hands it over, he walks by wherever he needed to pay for and then whistles and it chases him, so his cash always stays with him.
I like the things the cash say when you're going to grab them. Like, come on, you bastard.
They're such angry people.
What are you waiting for? Over here.
And Conker is such a materialistic douche, too. It's like, oh, I'll have that gold card in no time.
Marth Banduli.
That's right. Banduli. He does sound like he's got a little bit of a lisp, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. It's probably from that motorbike with the squirrel teeth.
Oh, yeah.
I really like the Liverpudlian dung beetles.
Oh, my God. They are so funny. I'm trying to find the quotes from one of them here. Let's see. There it is. Let's see.
I can't remember.
Let's see.
I can't do a Liverpudlian accent. I'm not going to even attempt it.
I'll find it.
Go on.
No.
Oh, here it is. So the dung beetle's name is Jizza instead of Jezza. So they just live in, because whenever you walk into their area, Conker puts on a gas mask, and Conker comes. He's like, "Oh, this place really smells." And Jizza's like, "Yeah, you see, we're like fucking dung beetles. We roll around in poo all day. Fuck knows for what." He's like, "Oh, really? That's interesting. You want some poo? Right then, get your fucking ass in there. These fucking crows. Get him in there, get him to crap, and I'll make you a ball of poo, and you can go do whatever the hell you do with it. Go on your bike. You're still here. Fuck off."
Brilliant.
That's right. So you have to get in. I forgot about that. You have to get the female cows to shit, just massive amounts of shit by feeding them prune juice. And the whole time you have this giant bull that's trying to attack you, so you have to get him stuck into the wall so you can hop on him. And then as the female cows are shitting into the grate, you have to charge into them to get them to explode so you can get another female cow to come out. And it is graphic.
This bit makes no sense, though, because why are you doing that? Because you could just leave one shitting.
They'd probably run out.
Apparently not. They just go for a long time.
That's true. But yeah, once you do that, then you get a dung ball, which you have to roll up a shit mountain and drop it on a dung beetle to get them to move. Then go grab another one, roll it all the way back up the other side, drop it in so it busts open the door at the bottom, and then you enter into probably the greatest boss battle of all time.
That's so funny, man.
Mike, I wish you would have made it at least this far. This is the peak of this game, is the Great and Mighty Pooh boss battle. Not only is he an opera singer, but his teeth are made out of corn. And when you come in, Ollie's like, "I want corn." And you have these little pieces of sentient corn that you have to smack and then sacrifice to the giant pool of shit to get him to spawn. And then you have this operatic shit battle.
That's so good, man. The song is hilarious. Mike, have you seen this before?
I've seen like little snippets of it. I've not I've never heard the full song, but I know I've seen like clips of it. Like I've been watching YouTube videos and stuff. Someone's like a 5-second clip.
The lyrics are genius. One of my favorite bits is he goes, "Now I'm really getting rather mad. You're like a niggly, tickly, shitty little tag nut."
Apparently,
I like the part at the end. He's like, "I'm going to take your head and ram it up my butt."
My butt?
My butt. Your butt? That's
Your
right, my butt. You.
Apparently, in the subtitles, the butt is actually misspelt with just one T in the Nintendo version, but it wasn't fixed until Rare Replay.
Oh.
Which seems like an odd thing to go in and fix.
I like his. Haven't talked about as well the Grim Reaper. When you die.
Hold on. I like the Great and Mighty Pooh's opening line too. If you haven't seen this, Mike, he's like, "I'm the Great and Mighty Pooh. I'm going to throw my shit at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat?"
How about some scat, you little twat?
Fred Durst to be jealous of that lyric. Jesus.
Oh, it's so funny.
But yeah, Greg had me in stitches that first time I died.
Yeah, so the Grim Reaper when you die is this really, really small guy who's just really angry and he hates cats for some reason because they've got 9 lives, I think. So
isn't that the reason they have 9 lives? Because he hates them or something?
I don't know.
I'll have a look. But yeah, so it looks like you have no kind of live system for a while until you first die. And then like you meet Greg and he's like, oh, you can come back and I'll let you go back anytime as long as you've got, let's just use these foxtails, shall we?
Well, he says that it's not I'm just doing my job, but apparently squirrels can have as many lives as they think they can get away with.
That's it. I really like him. He reminds me of a little bit like of a character that you kind of get in Undertale. Like that kind of style and that kind of just the way he talks and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I suppose like a precursor to that. So, do you know which bit I thought was absolutely hilarious? The bit where you go in and the catfish are there.
Yeah,
and
the catfish and the bulldog.
Like, just to give you context, they're actual like fish which have faces of cats, and they're like posh middle-aged ladies, and one wears like a pair of glasses that she puts on her face and stuff. And they basically task you with breaking this vault. And once you get in there, there's a section where they say these cogs that you have to put on to open the thing. And
Carl the cog.
And Conker goes up to him and just goes, fuck off. Conker goes, why is everyone so offensive around here? And he goes, bring me back me missing cogs off. Fuck off. Conker goes, you don't have to shout. And then he goes, I'm deaf. Speak up or fuck off. It's just so funny.
Oh God! You forgot about the part with the pitchfork where he's Frankie. I think he was like, I was gonna stick my big fork right in you. And Conker's response was, "Were your parents related? Like before they were married?" There's so many little one-off lines. Oh, then Carl, when you bring the first cog back, you accidentally put it on the wrong way. So the female cogs you have to bring back, and this is a pain in the ass. I did not like this section. But you have to bring these cogs back in order to turn a bigger cog. And the first one you put on the little post sticking out, her mouth is clearly where the hole goes. And the first cog piece is right below Carl. So it's clear what you're doing. And you put this one on face first. And she's like, oh, no. And Carl's like, oh, yeah, that's it. That's it. Oh, what are you doing? Wait, no. You take it off and you turn it back around the right way.
It's funny, just daft little stuff like that that's through it. So if we talked about the context sensitive pads,
sort of,
but these are kind of used a lot throughout the game, and they're really cool actually because it kind of flips on this platformers where they give you something briefly on its head, and you get the most ridiculous things. Like when you first meet the Liverpudlian dung beetles, Conker just pulls out a bunch of knives. Oh no, he doesn't use this as a slingshot to kill them.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit in the barn later on where there's context-sensitive pads and bats are coming down towards you and he pulls out a flamethrower and just torches them.
Or if he turns into an anvil, like at the barn section where you have to go up and just jump off that top. That's where the game really started to show its age with its controls, because you had to wander around and collect bees to bring back to the sunflower. So she would take her hands off of her voluptuous bosom so that this... recently divorced, cheating, drunk, hungover bumblebee could go pollinate her, because he's been cheating on the queen bee that you first met with this busty sunflower. And then you have to bounce on her boobs to get up to where the cache is. Trying to bounce on there and stay above her really started to show its age. Not only trying to catch the bees and bring them around and navigate these really narrow spaces, but if you fall from a certain height, you just die instantly and have to redo all of that section. So the
One
controls...
of the most frustrating things about this game for me as well is the jump height. You can jump off something without taking damage. So it's really low, actually, the things you can jump off without taking damage.
Yeah.
And so basically Conker has health, which is chocolate, and sentient anti-gravity chocolate. And when he jumps off things, this can be really damaging. If you jump too high, you'll just die instantly.
Yeah.
But you take a lot of damage from jumping off things.
But how about that jump in the Great Mighty Pooh where you have to jump across that gap where it is just far enough where you can make it. If you wait to the apex of your jump before you spin his tail, you'll just land on the other side of it. That is an exceptionally frustrating jump.
I got to the end of the Great Mighty Pooh and fell in the middle bit and died.
I beat him first go because I knew how frustrating that part was. Like, I'm not going to fall in.
Really funny, but gameplay-wise, not brilliant.
No.
You have to basically, to beat the Great Mighty Pooh, you have to throw a toilet roll in his mouth while he's singing opera noises at you. It's just so ridiculous, but it's so funny.
It's a 13-year-old's dream, is what it was at the time. It's like, man, this is great. Look at all this dick and fart jokes, and people are swearing, and it definitely played into that.
So I was trying to look into some more stuff with Greg when we were trying to figure out what it was he said about cats and stuff. And I didn't realize there were cheat codes for this game. And you say it's a 13-year-old's dream. I'll read out a selection of the things you need to put in for cheat codes. I won't tell you what they do because I'm not going to go into that much detail. But some of these codes, so one of them is Spunk Jockey.
Oh my God.
Dracula's tea bags, Dutch ovens, beef curtains.
Is wig beef on there?
Huh?
Is wig beef on there?
It's not, I'm afraid. Billy Mill Roundabout, which apparently I had to find out what that was. Apparently, that's a masturbatory climax.
Oh.
This is just a few of them that are on here. Yeah, there's Clam Pirate, Beelzebub's Bum, Prince Albert, Chocolate Starfish, Anchovy Bay, Spaniel's Ears.
Boy, they got away with a lot.
Oh, I haven't heard someone say Spaniel's Ears in ages.
I don't think I've even heard that one.
You never heard the expression, she's got tits like Spaniel's ears?
No.
Not a phrase that you should be going around and saying, but... Droopy tits, Daniel.
Yes, I get it. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, that's all right.
So, Eric, you mentioned it before, but the bit where this game kind of loses me is when it transitions into the prehistoric section.
Yep, that is just where the game started to take an absolute downward turn.
So it's basically very random. I forget what you fall down to end up in this section.
Well, and Conker even addresses it too. He's like, no platforming game would be complete without prehistoric level, or he says something to that effect.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
There's a lot of fourth wall breaking in this.
The idea behind this section is at the start that you're trying to get in this place called the Rock Club, where there's a really sentient rock monsters where they try and attack you. They're all drunk outside, and then the bouncer won't let you in. So to get in this place, you have to go down to this giant dragon statue and sacrifice a baby T-Rex to it, basically, so it lets you in.
You have to go sit on the egg to hatch it, and then it follows you around and kills all of these things.
And then you just squash it, and that apparently sates this dragon crocodile god thing, so it opens up.
And then you go get this Ooga Booga hat, which then makes you the king of the Ooga Boogas, who will then follow you around, but they may be the most poorly programmed AI characters ever, because they will get stuck
the amount of times they kept falling off the ledge.
Or they just get stuck and don't follow you. But yeah, you have to...
And they're doing this really repetitive chant when they're following you around.
I don't even remember what they were saying.
It's like Mililakaki, or something like that.
But yeah, you have to drag them back up to beat up all the rock monsters so you can get into the bar. And once you get into the bar, you discover that Barry is in there, and she's being captive. The music that was in there was great for like the first 2 or 3 loops, but man, it got repetitive real quick. Like, it is true techno tom rave music. And
this bit is really frustrating as well, because you have to basically get Conker to drink from a beer barrel and get him really drunk, and this enables him to piss. And I didn't realize at first that you could increase the distance of the piss by holding on the Z button.
Yep.
Which made it real difficult, and you have to basically piss on these rock monsters so that they fall through an archway and fall down onto the bit above where Berry is to break open the cage.
But if you miss, or if you run out of piss, or you stop peeing, they will come back they'll stand up, come over and pummel the shit out of you. Then you have to either hope you still have enough pee left, or you have to walk up, take an Alka-Seltzer, get sober, walk back, drink more beer. But you have to do that 3 times.
Yeah, it's really frustrating because the fact that Conker, when he's really hungover, moves really slowly.
Yeah.
And obviously it makes sense in the context of it.
But if you thought that Norman Reedus could piss and that was fun, wait till you piss as Conker. I mean, that guy can push out a flow.
He really can. It's a frustrating section, I will say that. But then this leads into the next section where basically Burry is somehow with the mob boss, who then wants you to take a bomb to the back of the dragon place that you just did. Because he wants to kill off the prehistoric men, I think.
Yes.
Then you throw this bomb down, and then somehow you end up in a new section, which is where you quit, Eric, with the hoverboard.
But let's talk about that for a second with that bomb section, because at first I didn't realize that it was timed, and you have to backtrack all the way to where you sacrifice that baby raptor, and it's not particularly a straight line, and you have to avoid the Ooga Boogas, who if they hit you, the bomb explodes. When you come back out into that area that has like the horseshoe where you can walk down the ramp, but then you have to come back to the center to get into the dragon, there is a very specific spot where you can fall where it's high enough to help cut off a bunch of distance, but it's still low enough where if you hit the ground, you won't explode. So if you try to go all the way around and come back up, you definitely won't make it, especially once you get inside the dragon and you have to avoid those, the snot uvulas that are swinging around back and forth. The first time I took my time and barely made it into the dragon before I exploded. Like, oh, so we're timed. And probably about 6 or 7 tries later, I got to the end as it was about to explode. So I think they timed that so that you have just the right amount of time.
Yeah, I had hardly any time when I got there as well. It took me 2 tries, but
it's too much. But this is where the game ended for me. And after reading about what's next, I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of glad that I ended here, because the first half of this game is what I think a lot of people hold on to as their nostalgia. And like, this game is so good. And I have, granted, I'm going to let you confirm this, but I haven't played the second half of the game, or the last third, I guess, because I made it to the end of chapter 6 and there's 9 chapters. It doesn't sound like it's worth the effort of getting through this next section.
Yeah, it gets tough. So you quit. Basically, there is a random bit where you end up doing a hoverboard race, kind of, where you have to chase down these dudes. And I hated this bit because there are so many ways to die instantly and it's not built particularly well.
You turn too sharp, dead. You miss a jump, dead. You hit the fucking dinosaur that's crossing 2 or 3 times per lap, dead.
I had to save state in the end with this bit, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't save stating all the way through, but I did for this bit.
I did not have the pleasure of doing that. So when I first hopped onto it, I'm like, oh, this is great. Just a little hoverboarding section. And I'm going around like 3-4 laps and I see the jump to get the money. Oh, maybe I need to jump, hit that grate, bust it open, grab the money. Nope, dead. Like, oh, what the hell do I need to do? Did 5 or 6 laps, never saw anybody, and then realized, oh, I need to hold forward to go even faster. But then
Peterson and not understanding control, shocker.
Well, they don't tell you anything.
Got him.
Even if they did tell you, Eric, you'd ignore it.
You're right, I would. But then once you see those people, still, you have a very minuscule section of the map in which they allow you to get close enough to hit them. But I've discovered that if you jump while you're pressing forward, you'll continually go even faster and get further ahead. So you have to do it 3 times. You have to hit 3 people. And after the second one, the course changes and becomes more difficult. And your window of which you can hit that one guy is even smaller. But if you hit that dinosaur that's crossing at all, his tail, his head, any of his legs, which take up the entire passable area, you're dead. I'm not exaggerating when I gave up after about 75 tries and went, I'm not doing this. Over the course of a week and a half, I was stuck on that one section. Went, I'm not doing this. This is too hard.
Fair enough. 75 is a lot.
It's just too difficult. And for one entire night, I sat there. Christy's like, hey, let's just play a game. I'm going to sit down and do my work. I'm going to watch you play a game. For 2 hours, my whole night of what I had allotted to play games, I tried that and didn't beat it.
Wow.
It was frustrating as hell. And then I gave it a week break and went, okay, maybe this is one of those just set the controller down for a little bit, come back, you're going to nail it and be like, that wasn't so hard. I was making a big deal out of it. Nope. All morning, yesterday morning, tried it. Couldn't do it. This is it. I'm done.
That sucks, man. But, well, as the savior of the show, it lies to me to fill in the gaps.
You had to save state through it. So technically, you easy moded it. But I'll let it pass because that part sucked, dick.
There is no easy mode on this game, believe me.
Well, and apparently it just gets harder.
Yeah. So, Mike, after this bit, you get to meet Greg again, who is on the end of a pier, and he is trying to scythe the catfish below him because he hates them, and he just randomly gives you a shotgun.
And you can start shooting?
Yes,
but why?
So you end up going into basically this haunted castle section where Conker's great granddad lives, and he is a vampire. So you go into this section, and as soon as you go in, there is this bit with zombie squirrels, basically, and you have to shoot them to kill them. But the only way to kill them is to shoot them in the head in traditional zombie fashion. But the problem with this is the controls are so clunky that it makes it absolutely rock hard to do it. So to give it context, you have to press B to take out the shotgun, and then Conker ends in this new kind of movement where you can strafe, and then you have to hold down, I think, the Z trigger to aim, and then you have to aim with the really finicky C buttons, and then you have to press R1 to shoot. And it is incredibly complicated.
See, this is the thing. I mean, we said earlier about the camera system feeling a bit archaic and stuff like that, and it will do, because it's an older game. But Nintendo creates their games, and I know obviously it was developed by Rare, but like a lot of Nintendo games are created around the controller. You think about the weirdness of the N64 controller, the weirdness of the game controller, the Wii, things like that. The games are created around them. So when you go back and emulate these games, they're always going to feel a little bit strange. Going back to the camera alone, there's not full camera control on this just because it didn't exist back then. But, the left and right camera control that you had, if you were using an actual N64 controller. Now, I hate the N64 controller at the risk of having fucking mobs with fucking sticks of fire at my door for saying that. I don't like the N64 controller. But if you were playing this game and you had those individual yellow C buttons to control your camera left and right, it would feel quite natural. Whereas we have got so used to a full camera control on that right stick, and then when you emulate these things, the C buttons end up going onto the right stick. So you, when playing it, are always trying to rotate that stick any way you can because you're so used to doing it, rather than having the separate buttons. Now, this section that you're trying to describe to me, imagine you were doing it on an N64 controller. Would that have been any easier?
No.
You were saying about using the yellow buttons, but obviously if you had your thumb over the 4 buttons, would that make it?
I don't think it did.
You didn't need the camera at all.
Actually, maybe the aiming is on the left stick. I may be wrong, because he stands in place. You can't move when you shoot. Yeah. So it might be the left stick. I can't remember.
Mm-hmm. Which would have been the only stick on the N64, and then your Z button would have been right underneath because it was the trigger underneath.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I honestly, but trying to play it because I emulated using the DualShock 4, and it was really difficult. Took me a lot of tries to get through this. I persevered and I eventually got it. You just kind of have to make sure you're at a really good distance from them. You can aim in time and just get lucky, really. So after you get past this section, you end up meeting Conker's great granddad, who's this vampire, and he basically takes Conker in and gives him loads of food, and then he bites Conker, and Conker turns into a really small little bat. And this next section is basically you flying around as this bat, and you have to pick up villagers to drop them in a giant meat grinder underneath the giant bat version of your ancestor, and then the blood falls into the bat's mouth, and he gets bigger and bigger until eventually the strings above him snap and he falls into the meat grinder, and then you could return back to normal. It's absolutely mental, and it's so frustrating, man, to do that section.
What you're saying is Death Stranding has nothing on this.
Yeah, it's just this is where the game gets absolutely mad, like I said.
I mean, the thing is, for me, obviously I played very little of this, but the bit that I played, and you guys can correct me if I've got the wrong impression, but the impression I get from this, it was trying to be like a Mario 64, Mario 64 Banjo-Kazooie kind of clone. In some ways, it kind of failed that because I don't think in terms of controls and everything like that, it is as good as Mario 64. I mean, I don't think any of these 3D kind of Mario 64 wannabes on the N64 ever was, or ever were, I should say. It seems to be a lot of this nostalgia just generally comes from the humor and the ridiculous of the story rather than the actual gameplay itself. And people will go, "Oh, Conker's Bad Fur Day, what an amazing game!" When
it's not a good game.
It's just
it's a good story.
At its core, it's not really.
Yeah.
Because, like, going back to the context-sensitive pads, like, the idea is kind of cool, like, that he will do anything, and I love the cartoon humor of it, where, like, you know, the very first one you do is he randomly pulls an Alka-Seltzer out of his pocket, and that's cool. Like, you know, they can play with that quite a bit, and they can get him to literally do anything. He is essentially a cartoon character, you know, almost kind of... He doesn't look like it, but it's almost like a modeled out of clay kind of cartoon character that can pull anything out at any time. And that's cool. I like that. But if you literally are just having to get to a pressure pad to press a button and then a thing happens, that's a little lame in my...
Well, I think they did that out of necessity, though, because having those mechanics continually built in for any constant access would have taken up more memory. Because the
for sure.
Track.
I mean, it's a cool idea.
Yeah.
It means that you can literally have Conker as this kind of, like I said, a kind of modeled out of clay cartoon character, can literally do anything at any time, and it wouldn't be ridiculous because he can do these things. But I don't know, the context sensitivity of it I don't think it holds up that well. I mean, I bitch about the Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2, where the power-ups are always context sensitive. You know, you never run around as Fire Mario all the time. You just get a fire flower at the time when you need it. And I'm not a fan of that. And I think this on Conker, had I got further, would have been a little bit tedious in some ways. Rather than kind of being a bit more creative of figuring out how you would do these things, you're literally, all right, I just need to get to that pad and press a button.
Yeah. Sometimes they're not obviously there as well. You can't see them very well, depending on the environment. There's a few times that happened to me. But so I'll quickly go through what happens at the end of this section. So after you've transformed back from the bat, there's another shooting section where the zombies wandering around the castle, and you have to find 3 keys to open the gate. And then there's so before this bit, to get to the castle, you have to basically... So you know near where the beehive is, there's a mountain, and you can climb up that. There's these weird worm things that attack you every so often. You have to jump over them. And at the top of there's a barrel, which you can ride down the mountain, and that smashes open a new area. The same thing happens again at the castle, and you have to go down this winding path, which is really difficult to do on top of this barrel. And then when you get to the bottom, you ride the barrel across the water, and you can go up the waterfall. I can't remember what happens next, but I think you end up back in the hub world, and then this is the bit where it transitions into pop culture craziness, where you end up in the World War II section, and it's basically Saving Private Ryan. So you start off, you have to get this... that basically you knock on the door of a toilet, and this guy comes out strapped with a huge TNT barrel strapped to his back. He doesn't know why it's there or anything. You have to get him to follow you through this minefield, plonk him down next to this plane, do the same with another one on the other side, then you just blow them both up. And it opens up this plane, and then you go through on the boat, and it's like the D-Day landings. You're in with all these other squirrels, and they all die horribly, and Conker's all like traumatized. Then you're fighting these, so like Mike, you said before, the Teddy guys, these are the enemy at this point. And Conker gets 2 Uzis now,
Jesus.
Which is even more mental, and still with the same really finicky controls, and it becomes kind of like a third-person corridor shooter for a while, where you're in these corridors. But at the same time, so the Teddies can come from anywhere. They can jump over crates, they can jump from ceiling vents. At the same time, you also have these laser grids across these rooms, and if you knock into them, it's insta-death. And they're really, really, really difficult to get round. And it was at this point that I discovered that the game has a crawl function, apparently. So if you crouch and press forward, he crawls through things and makes it easy to get through them. I didn't know about this until this section.
understanding controls, shocker. Get him, Eric.
I'm in no position to speak.
And so you get through all this section. There's a really, really frustrating bit where you jump in this turret and you have to shoot loads and loads of waves of different enemies come from different directions. It's really finicky to aim. And you get to the end of this section and the boss on this bit is mental. So you go to this, you're in this big arena, and in the middle is a kind of metal platform, and in the center of this metal platform is a tiny little puppet of a girl. And she wants Conker to rescue her. And you have to do this. You have to blow up submarines first using a rocket launcher, of course. And then when you rescue this girl, the platform opens up and this giant robot comes up, which has this little girl on its hand. And the girl is like a possessed doll. And like a head starts spinning around like The Exorcist and everything.
The hell happens to this game?
It just goes completely mental.
I'm sure you're making all of this up.
No, he is not. I have read into it. It is fucked up.
And you kill this robot and then the little girl, and I think the little girl, before she dies, activates a self-destruct sequence, and you have to run all the way back through the corridors you've just been, shooting teddies, dodging the laser grids on a time limit this time. Then you get back to the beach and you leave this war section behind, and it's just like a bad dream that never happened. And it's not a dream, but it's just pointless, really. There's no point of it being there. It's just there. And you end up I can't even remember where you end up. I think you end up back in the hub world, and then there's a final section where you meet the Panther King. I can't remember where this is. I can't remember where it goes. I'll have to look it up. It's kind of been erased from my memory because it's just mad.
I wish I'd played more of this to see some of this shit.
Play up to at least Ooga Booga and call it quits. It's just not worth the struggle after that.
Yeah, but these bits at the end are just so crazy. It's kind of worth experiencing them as well. So I would try Conker Live and Reloaded because I think the aiming system's better.
I forgot that they did that. I probably should have played that.
Because I have no context on it, really.
I already owned Rare Replay and Rare Replays on Game Pass, so I played on there.
So the final section is entitled The Heist. And so did you guys ever go up past the section where the Great Mighty Pooh is and there's a drawbridge which you can't go over?
Yes.
You finally end up on the other side of that drawbridge and you're at a place called the Federal Reserve. And at this point, the mob boss from earlier appears, and he wants Conker and Berry to do a heist and steal all the money from this bank. And this is where the game now becomes The Matrix.
Jesus.
So Conker and Berry come out dressed in the finest of leathers with the sunglasses and everything. Each of them now has guns, and you can go behind these pillars, and you can do flips from side to side, like in Bullet Time, and shoot in midair, and so the context pad's basically behind these pillars. You press B, Conker does a side flip across the room to the other pillar, but then it goes into slow-mo and you can shoot the Uzis in midair. It's really cool, actually. It's really fun. But it's just mad. And then you go through this section, you end up in the bank vault, you steal all the money, and then the bank vault is revealed to actually be the Panther King's room, and the crazy scientist from before takes the Panther King's room into space. And at this point, the Panther King suddenly collapses in his chair, clutching his chest. He's in lots of pain. And suddenly, a xenomorph from Aliens jumps out of his chest. And the final boss of the game is this xenomorph. And Conker gets in the mech suit from Alien 3, 2, 3, I forget. And you fight this alien, you have to punch it in the face. You have to twirl around like Mario 64 when you with Bowser when you throw him out of the ring. And you have to throw this alien out of the airlock about 3 times. And this somehow is how Conker then becomes the king.
Doesn't Barry die, though, as well?
That is the entire plot of the game.
Yeah, Barry gets sucked out and dies.
Yeah, she's already dead when she gets sucked out.
And isn't there there's some, I was reading about this, where he's granted a wish? And
I don't think so, no.
Well, he said he wished he could have chosen to save Barry instead, but, you can't have it all.
Yeah, I don't think it's a real wish. I think he just says that.
Mm.
And then he just ends up sitting on the throne with his milk and everybody around him who he's met, and that's really the end of the game. There is a post-credit scene, I believe, where he's wearing a crown and he goes back to the pub from the start and he's all depressed. And that was going to lead into Conker's Other Bad Day, the planned sequel to this.
Yeah, where it follows his short tenure as king.
Yeah, but never had the light of day. It's just one of those series that exists and died off. But
that's right.
Said,
you didn't mention the part where Conker actually calls out the developers of the game specifically because the game freezes.
Oh yeah, that's how he kills the xenomorph. The game just freezes.
Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. He's asking the programmer's assistance. Programmers gave Conker a katana to teleport him to the Panther King's throne room where he decapitates them. He's crowned the king of the land. As the king, Conker realizes that he should have brought back Barry when he was negotiating with the programmers. He then calls out to bring her back to life, only to realize that the programmers have already left.
Yeah, it's just mad.
I wonder if this game would be better as Conker Live and Reloaded. Now that I think about it, I probably should have picked that one up and played that.
I kind of wish I had as well,
but then again, like if
well.
what Mike said is true, then it's vastly more censored.
No, it was Dan that said that.
No, as one of you
was
said.
Yes. So, Eric, you got further with this than Tomb Raider 2, so thanks for that.
And it wasn't for lack of trying. I genuinely wanted to finish this. It's not a long game. It's 9 hours, 10 hours at most? But that brick wall is really solid, and I just could not get through it. Do you think you would have been able to make it through without save stating?
Yes, I did towards the end. The only bit I save stated really
No, I meant that one section with the lava surfing.
Eventually. With enough persistence, but
I think I would have gotten
real frustrated
lucky.
with it.
There's no skill involved in that section.
No.
None.
But overall, I still really like this game for the most part. It just kind of descends into absolute nonsense as you get towards the end.
I think it's
kind of they lost the focus of what it was and just
that's
kind
what
of
it sounds like.
Just try to cram as many pop culture references into it as possible, and it just kind of loses the focus as it goes forward.
But then they very
pretty
good
good,
references
like with all the different context sensitive stuff and that. But as you get towards the end, you're just kind of like, what is even going on anymore?
Yeah, and pop culture references, they always age so badly as well, especially if they're not done well.
Yeah, and if they're even little subtle pop culture references too, which some people.
I mean, I've not played them both, but I've heard that these days, like Guacamelee 1 is worth skipping because it does so many like kind of the time internet meme references that just don't really work anymore, and it's a bit played out.
Still a fun game though, man.
Yeah, I've got Guacamelee 2 to play, but in fact, I think I have the first one beta as well. But
yeah, so I'm not giving Conker a hearty pip, but it's all right.
I'm giving it it's definitely overhyped, but it's worth a good chuckle.
I'm giving it. I didn't play it.
Thanks for contributing, Mike.
It's
I'm giving it not as shite as .hack infection. So
no, but I am going to apologize in advance for like the next few games we play on the show.
I'd have to go back and listen to the first time we played this, but I think we didn't finish it for many of the same reasons.
Who was on the show then?
I think it was me and Aaron and Jess. Or maybe...
Oh God, no chance.
Maybe Nick Stevens.
I think it's an episode I skipped because I didn't want it spoiling.
Oh, we didn't spoil it because we didn't finish it. I think I made it up through the Great and Mighty Pooh.
Isn't that just standard of all the old shows? You just kind of did whatever.
Yep. Fast and loose.
And yet the amount of shit we give each other if we don't finish games.
We've come a long way.
A precedent was set at the beginning, people.
We must uphold the integrity of the show.
We haven't had it for a long time, but in special honor of Mike not bothering to play this one, I'm giving him the shit-colored star.
Oh,
it's back.
There it is.
The Mighty Pooh-colored star.
The great and mighty shit-colored star.
I am throwing my shit-colored star at you.
Yeah. Well, I can emulate the...
How about some scat, you little twat?
You little twat. Have some
the next game we're doing, I can emulate on my Vita, so it's going to be fine. Don't you worry.
Let's see.
As long as I don't live to eat those words.
Pretty damn good, I would say. Now, before we get into doing the Facebook questions and stuff, I would just want to do a very quick plug for our social media because I always forget, and I'm going to do it this time. So, first of all, we've got our factory sealed page which is just if you want to follow us for the funnies and stuff. And then we've got the Factory Seal community group on Facebook, which you can search for Factory Sealed Factory Sealed Podcast Factory Sealed Podcast Community.
That's
on Facebook.
I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right either.
I am also plugging away at Instagram, so I'd appreciate a follow on there. That's at Factory Sealed Podcast.
The Facebook is facebook.com/groups/Factory Sealed Podcast.
Yeah, but it's easier to search for it.
Is it?
Just search for the Factory Sealed community.
Yeah. You search for Factory Sealed, you'll find it.
If you know how to use the internet, you'll find us.
Yes. And also, Mike, go on, you're going to mention it. Go on.
How many months have we forgotten to plug this? So a while ago, we thought about the fact that, like, we know that some people, they are on work computers and they can't access podcast apps and things like that. So they will listen to things on YouTube without the video on.
Well,
so
maybe if you
Eric
put it in the show notes, we'd remember to.
I did put it in the show notes
Where?
this time, and you deleted. Yeah, you deleted it.
I did no such thing.
So basically, Eric, Tom, and Dan, not me, because basically all I do for the show is just kind of turn up and talk shit. I very rarely put any kind of extra work in. But the three guys have worked very hard to make sure.
Mike can't even get up to the 2 hour limit. He's just after 10 seconds, he just breaks out into sweat and collapses.
Dude, it says Mr. Pumpkin over here. Anyway,
I'm fine.
La Pumpkin.
I'm fine.
La Pumpkin. Yeah, so all of the
You two are the
episodes are
pumpkins
now.
today. I had to carry that bit at the end.
How's your back? You okay?
I wasn't. I was
Alright.
listening to you, Dan. I was listening intently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Anyway, so all of the past episodes are now up on YouTube for you to listen to. I have no idea what the link is because I wasn't prepared for this bit. But then Tom, I think, is it Tom who's putting up the more recent episodes as they come up? They're usually a few days after. But yeah, if you want to listen to us on YouTube, we are now on there.
On the tubes of the U.
That took some work, so please do it.
Yeah, search for Factory Sealed Retro Gaming Podcast. I'm sure you'll find us.
We're somewhere on there.
I haven't got the exact link because I was underprepared for this. But yeah, do it.
And finally, we don't mention this enough. We are on Patreon as well. So we have various different tiers on there. The best one is still Factory Sealed and Wrapped. You get basically half an hour of us just chatting shit before the show, and that's like $1. And we put all the money back into making this show even better. So we've used that money, for example, to get all these fancy new mics so we sound so very, very, very sexy.
Pays for hosting, all that fun stuff.
Yes.
What
I
else?
feel like you've gone full pumpkin today, Eric. You all right?
A little distracted, but I'm good. It's the TV up above my other monitor. It's distracting me. It's too big. It's too bright.
The one on the ceiling.
Yeah.
Shall we get some Facebook comments?
Yes.
Yeah.
So every show we put these out on Facebook as well. Generally, we don't get as many emails as we used to, and Facebook is the best place to do it. So jump on there and give us a comment. Thank you.
So the first one is from Michael Hernandez. He said, "What game or games are your guilty pleasure to play? Doesn't have to necessarily be a shite game, just a bit unpopular amongst most people. Mine is Final Fantasy 13 and 13-2. Don't judge me."
Final Fantasy X-2. Boy, did I feel weird playing that as a 15-year-old boy. Like, this game's great. I'm not going to tell any of my friends about it.
I loved that game.
The game was so good.
I would probably say the same about 10-2. I never finished 10-2, but yeah, it's
very effeminate. Nothing wrong with that, but at the time, it's just not what I was expecting, and I really enjoyed it. Like, okay, I'm going to keep this one to myself.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's not as revered as much as Final Fantasy X.
No, but man, that dress sphere system is so cool.
Yeah, but I mean, it falls under this thing of, it's just a bit, it's not shite, but it's just a bit unpopular. And I think that whole dress sphere thing did turn a lot of people away.
Yeah. Well, in the
and
opening...
plus you get those guys with too much testosterone, don't you? And go, oh, it's all women.
Well, and...
Lads, football, woo. I'm painting with a broad brush here, but...
I like that brush. I'm quite familiar with it.
Oh, that brush.
That's a good brush. I don't know if I have any other guilty pleasures.
There's loads of probably like really shit old games on the PS1 that I used to have as a kid that I love. Like there was one called Wild 9, which if you played it now is probably terrible. You played Wild 9?
I have dabbled. Couldn't tell you anything about it other than that I can picture the cover.
I think you'd really enjoy it, Eric, because it has a torture mechanic where you can throw people into meat grinders and things.
Well, I'm going to buy that.
Basically, your main weapon is a tractor beam. You can pick up enemies, throw them into different things. It's great.
Yeah, that's the picture.
And I also used to really, in the day, I bet it's absolutely terrible now, things like Die Hard Trilogy and Apocalypse on PS1.
Man, we should do Die Hard Trilogy for the show.
True Lies on the SNES. That's a guilty pleasure. Shit game. Ton of fun to play.
We played that, didn't we?
I would say...
What was... Oh, I know one. Because I started playing... You know when you guys gave me that RetroPie? And one of the first things I booted up was a game called Wiz and Liz on the Mega Drive.
Oh my God.
Which is where you play as these like tiny wizards that go around collecting rabbits. And it's a little bit arcadey. You've got to like do it within a time limit and stuff. And I've never heard anyone ever talk about Wiz and Liz. And when I started playing it, you guys were like, "What the fuck are you playing?"
I remember that.
But sometimes I'll randomly just play Wiz and Liz on the Mega Drive on an emulator and stuff. It's
you know what I forgot
fun.
to mention when we were talking about what we've played? I have been making my way through the X series Mega Man games, which I've not beaten anything past X1. I've played and dabbled in all of them, but that series gets really hard really quick. And Ellie and I decided we're going to sit down and play through this series, and we've brute forced our way through X2, which that game is great.
Ellie decided.
Well, because she and I play games together. And I'm like, Ellie, what should we play together? And she's like, play Mega Man. And she was referring to 20XX. I'm like, I'm kind of burned out on that right now. How about we play real Mega Man? And she, yeah. So we started pounding through X2.
That's when you deflect and move on to So Nice the Hedgehog.
Nah. So I asked her the other day, like, Ellie, be honest. Do you still like Sonic or do you like somebody else better? And she goes, I like Mega Man better. I'm like, yes.
Until I hear that from her own mouth,
I'll get her
without
to
you standing by to try and push her to say it, I don't believe you.
All right, well, she'll say it when you're down here in a few weeks. But
oh yeah, how convenient.
What I was going to say is we got to X3, and man, that game is terrible. It is just they threw in the towel on that one. The music is shit. The levels are horridly uninspired. I am not looking forward to burning through the rest of the X series. I wanted to get through all of those before the Zero series came out at the end of February, but just wanted to...
How many X games is there?
Here's an idea, Eric. If you're not enjoying yourself, why don't you just stop?
What's that mean? I only stop games that I like.
Like you did with Spirit Tracks, you mean?
Yeah, it's kind of like Spirit Tracks. No, I really enjoyed X2 by the time I got to the end of it. Very, very difficult, but X3 is just too out there.
Oh, you know what else we haven't talked
Stop
about?
playing it if you don't like it.
I can't. It's Mega
Mike,
Man.
you haven't told us your game of the decade yet.
Oh, yeah, we skipped that bit. Oh, well. I'll do it when Tom's on, then we'll both do it together.
Yeah.
It seems out of place if I just do it.
Oh, okay, back to the guilty pleasure thing. I did think of another one. When I was a kid, we would rent NES games, and I would frequently rent McKids, which is a blatant Mario ripoff done from McDonald's. And it's actually not super bad.
Oh, are you on about Global... Is it Global Gladiators?
No, McKids.
Yeah, I think if it's the game I'm thinking of, it was called McDonald's, like, I'm sure it was Global Gladiators over here.
I even have a copy of it here. I found a copy. I'm like, I'm going to own that.
Do you know what else I used to love as well? PS1, Action Man game. It's atrocious. But at the time, it was pretty cool.
This, hang on, the image I've got is Mega Drive, but it was released on other things. I used to have it on Game Gear as well.
I'll send you this one. McKids.
All right, no, this is a different game. There's this one, which looks very similar.
Oh, that looks horrid.
It
does look very similar, doesn't it? Well, you know what? It's got... I wonder if it is.
Hang on.
I don't know.
McKids game. Global.
Why are you two muse over that? I'll crack on with the question.
No, it's not the same game.
Oh, yeah, no, they're very different.
Very, very different.
So Dalton says, I played the shit out of Conker Live and Reloaded on my Xbox. One of the first games I remember playing for that system. I'm sure by this point you've mentioned it in the show, but favourite boss, and why was it the Great and Mighty Pooh?
I don't know. I kind of liked the big bollocks bourgeois furnace that you had to fight.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention that.
Yeah, so these fire demons that you have to piss on to put out jump into a giant furnace that becomes a robot, but he's got gigantic brass testicles that you have to go punch. And after you punch him a few times, he falls over and they have to escape through his asshole. But as they're escaping, it explodes and they die. I liked him. That was a fun boss.
No, I like the Great and Mighty Pooh the best.
Yeah, I'm not saying that one is the best, but Great and Mighty Pooh is the best one.
Andrew Thorson, not really a question, but I thought I'd leave this in here. He put, I used to be able to beat this game in under 2 hours back in the heyday, and that's without ever losing a life. From what I played of it, wow. Jordan Lovery, what rare title would you like to see Microsoft reboot?
Banjo 3.
Diddy Kong Racing.
Inferior to Crash Team Racing.
Not if they did a reboot. A gritty reboot.
Yeah, I'd say Banjo, definitely.
Or Jet Force Gemini. It's too bad that they shit the bed with Perfect Dark on the 360, because that was a fun game.
I liked it when it came out.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah, because it was new and shiny.
Indeed. That always
Colin
happens with
Niblo.
these games that come out at the start of a generation, though. They're always like, oh, wow. And then you look back 5 years later and you're like, oh, God.
Colin Niblo, did you guys also spend the vast majority of the game going, what the actual fuck is going on? The barn scene is how I envisioned a trip to the shop in Het. Dan, can you confirm/deny? On a serious note, did you guys play this at the time of release? Thoughts on releasing a game like this today?
Well, I can confirm that it is not like the shop in Het, because Het does not have a shop.
Do you have a barn that you can go into with two really racist
Possibly. There is
tools?
a few farms around.
I think some of you on the last part of that question, I don't think you'd get away with a lot of the humor these days. To be honest. Like from the sounds of it.
I don't think you would either. We're far too politically correct these days.
But in terms of the actual game itself, I mean, I don't know. I never played it, so it could be on the game itself rather than the genre. But you know, the first Ukulele came out and didn't seem to set the world on fire, and everyone before that came out were thinking, "Oh yeah, it's the resurgence of the 3D collectathon platformer," you know, blah blah blah, and it didn't happen. So I don't know. I don't know if that style would work. I mean, you know, if they managed to find the magic with it. I mean, even Ukulele has gone on a kind of a 2D.
Yeah, but even trying
now, isn't it?
even trying to release a game with this type of humor these days it kind of falls flat. Look at what happened with Duke Nukem Forever. I mean, that's got a whole other bevy of issues to it, but you're right. I think the 3D platformer as a whole, aside from Mario Odysseys and games like that, is just kind of
Wait, are you saying the bit on Duke Nukem Forever where you could use a turd to draw on a whiteboard isn't the level of highbrow humor that this generation would appreciate?
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That is the first thing you can do. You pop into the game, you're in a bathroom, you're like, oh, it's a turd. Pick it up, and you just...
Daniel Queen, Colin Niblo and I tried to play the Rare Replay version for the show and spent just under 2 hours wrestling with the camera and controls before giving up. Playing it for the first time with no nostalgia for the game, I was able to appreciate it as quite a technical achievement on N64, but found it hadn't aged well enough that I was able to enjoy it. What is the most critically acclaimed game that you just waited too long to play?
Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
That would be one of them for me. Majora's Mask, also.
Oh, that's one for me. Yeah, I only played that not last year before.
Yep. I would say
definitely. And Wind Waker as well, actually.
If I
didn't play Wind Waker for a long time as well.
If I had to choose for Tom, I'd probably say Dark Souls. He seems to be enjoying that quite a bit right now.
Also, what was the... it seems to be a lot of Zelda on my list, but original Link's Awakening.
Yep.
And also A Link Between Worlds, which I only played recently as well.
Plot twist now.
Sorry? Plot twist. Fuck off, Dan.
That bit with the spaceship at the end as well. Jesus Christ. Amazing.
I think it's recently as well, Sunset Overdrive. Like I said, it was a bit of a disappointment for me. You know, that game's quite critically acclaimed, and I just couldn't get on with it.
Is it though?
I think so. Or is it just people just like it? Oh, no, I could be wrong on that. I don't know. James Hall, game-related question. Did the Great Mighty Pooh song get stuck in your head?
No, but I remember it.
Yeah, it didn't this time, but I do. It has made an impression. I still think it's hilarious.
And then Josh Burnson, I'll ask a tough one. Why are you guys finally playing a good game for the show? I mean, from the sounds of it, we wouldn't go that far. But anyway, also, do you like the N64 controller?
At the time, yes. Going back to it, no.
I'd never really used it. I didn't have the N64.
I forgot you didn't have
had
that.
it. So
I've never been a fan of the N64 controller. Weirdly, my main memory of using the N64 controller is with the movie tie-in Mission Impossible game, and I have no idea why. Despite the fact I played most of Ocarina of Time and I played Mario 64 and stuff like that, I don't know why, but like playing on an actual N64 with the controller, for some reason, like the main thing that sticks out is that game, and I have no idea why. It's really, really strange.
The game that sticks out for me on that is Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah, but the N64, I don't know, like, one, it's not designed for you to be able to use all of the fucking controls. I mean, if you hold it how you're supposed to, where you hold the middle stick, you can't access the D-pad, you can't access the L shoulder button. I feel the buttons are clunky. I know it was kind of one of the first ones to do it, but the analog stick just feels like shite. It always felt like you could break it at any moment. This is even before we were treated to decent analog sticks. You know, I always felt like I was going to break that thing. I don't know. It's uncomfortable to hold. Your hands are too close together. I could go on. I've never been a fan of the N64 controller, and despite the fact I used to own both, and most of my childhood of playing games was always kind of renting games rather than buying them, I quite often I had both PlayStation and N64, I should say. I would rent PlayStation games more often just because I didn't like the idea of getting stuff for the N64 because I didn't like the controller as much. And that's my rant on the N64 controller.
It never bothered me. What bothered me the most is how other people held it. They just couldn't seem to figure out how to hold the goddamn controller. You get some people who would like hold the stick and play with it like that, or some people would have their hand on the outside and like reach their thumb all the way across.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't understand why they came up with that design. I don't know.
But it's
weird.
Nintendo.
Like, why? Oh, it looks like an N.
It looks like an M.
I think loads of
that's what I meant.
Game company, I think console manufacturers around that era kind of tried to reinvent the controller when it didn't necessarily need reinventing.
Yeah,
we've landed on this kind of the way it is now, and that kind of works really well.
Yeah.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
We're good.
Yeah, that's my delayed greeting.
Oh, there it is. Mike's here.
There it is.
Jesus, Mike.
Jesus wept.
What are we playing next, Dan?
Next, we are playing Revenge of Shinobi.
What is that?
So a nice little game, because we are going to be recording next week again, so we need a shorter one to get through.
I will be out of town, so it should be a little shorter anyway.
All I will say is, gentlemen, good luck with the last level, because it is a bitch.
What is this? I am going to be safe stating like a bitch.
This originally came out on Genesis?
Yes.
I was hoping it would have been on the Sega Genesis Classic, but it's not.
Yes, but those cultured individuals call it the Mega Drives.
It is an infinitely better name, because it's got Megor in it.
It would have been better if it was called the Mega Man
Much
Drive.
less biblical.
Much less biblical. Sega missed the boat by not calling their follow-up console the Exodus. They could have just gone through all the books of the Bible. Coming up now is the Sega Leviticus.
We got the Sega Dreamcast.
This is why I don't run major companies.
You
it's
can only
probably
be
for the
thankful of that.
Yes, please.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to a nice challenge.
Challenge?
After playing Pokemon recently, and then kind of Death Stranding, which most of Death Stranding is quite tranquil in some ways. It's just be nice to play something that's gonna make Pastor's buttons hard.
I'm not going to lie, I would have preferred if you played the game of the week rather than Death Stranding, but good effort, Mike.
Good effort.
I know. I need to have the balance of being able to play games for myself as well. That's the thing.
You can do that in your lorry when you're not moving.
Yeah, but I can't play Death Stranding in the lorry, can I, Daniel?
Yes, if you take your TV and your PlayStation and some elaborate generator setup, and then you'd be good to go.
Yeah.
I don't want the same setup that you've got at home.
It's cracking for making holographic girlfriends.
That's true. That is true. That's true. Yeah. Is that a spaceship outside?
This episode is brought to you by our wonderful Patreon sponsors, with an extra special thank you to Zach Foley, Santos Lopez, Sarah Irvine, Peabody, Wes Rainey, Phil Gartside, Nicholas Bradley, James Hall, Thomas McGrew, Richard Cuttress, Jordan Lawfrey, Jason McGill, Stephanie, Chad Schaefer, Miles Prower, Jeremy Lucas, Shannon McIntosh, and Samuel Chan.